Chapter 17. The incident with Zhao Rouge did not have any negative impact on Bufang's life, nor did it bring about any uneasiness to Bufang. He opened for business the next day, as usual. He first gave the big black dog, who was living like a pig, a daily serving of egg-fried rice, then curled up on the chair, as usual. His life went on as usual. Ever since Fatty Jean and the others ate Bufang's egg-fried rice the day before, they were completely captivated. Their minds were constantly recalling the delicacies of Fong Fong's little store. For Fatty Jean, the amount of egg-fried rice in a single bowl was too little, and it was not enough to fill his stomach. After returning home, he specially asked the chef to cook a large pot of egg-fried rice. However, compared to Bufang's egg-fried rice, the taste of this egg-fried rice cooked by the chef he specially invited from Jiangnan was too inferior. He only took a bite and found it difficult to swallow. The color, fragrance, and taste were completely different from the improved egg-fried rice of Fong Fong's little store. After enduring an entire night of hunger, the next day, Fatty Jean brought his group of brothers and aggressively rushed toward Fong Fong's little store. Those who did not know would have thought that they were there to fight. "Oh my, Ownerbu, good morning." When Fatty Jean arrived at the alleyway, he discovered that Fong Fong's little store was already open and was immediately overjoyed. Bufang recognized this fatty. That physique and the circle of flesh around his waist were unmatched in the entire imperial city. Bufang expressionlessly nodded and simply said, "Are you here to eat? What would you like to order?" "Ownerbu, the dishes you have here are too few. However, the taste is truly superb. Last night, I was so hungry that I tossed and turned in bed and was unable to sleep. I couldn't wait to come here to eat a serving of egg-fried rice. As a matter of fact, Jean brought my brothers here early in the morning." Fatty Jean grinned as he naturally walked into the store. The corners of Bufang's mouth twitched slightly, revealing a stiff smile. He was naturally happy when others praised his food. "However, Ownerbu, Old Jean, have a suggestion for you. Actually, you can make breakfast. Look at you, you open the doors so early in the morning, but you only sell oily things like egg-fried rice. It's a bit of a waste of time." Of course, Ownerbu's egg-fried rice is not oily at all. Bufang thought for a while, then nodded and said lightly, "There will be in the future, don't worry." Lao Jean smiled as he sat on the stool and ordered, "Boss, give me one of each dish. I'm already hungry." Bufang softly replied with a then turned his gaze to the other fatties. Naturally, they also did the same thing as Old Jean. For these fatties, Bufang was not worried at all that they would waste food. He was only worried that there would not be enough to eat. "Okay, please wait a moment." After noting down everyone's order, Bufang walked into the kitchen. He lit the fire and turned on the stove. Everything went smoothly, and he was very skilled at it. With a spurt of fire and a shake of the wok, the spatula scooped out the egg-fried rice, which was 80% cooked, and wrapped around each round rice grain and carried it out of the kitchen. The rich aroma caused Fatty Jean's stomach to growl. When Bufang brought out the second serving of egg-fried rice, Fatty Jean had already started to lick the plate. Seeing Bufang, Fatty Jean put down the plate and gave him a thumbs up, saying, "Ownerbu, this taste is really amazing. It's the best egg-fried rice I've ever eaten in my life. Moreover, this egg-fried rice can even stimulate the flow of true energy in the body. It's worthy of being a 10 crystals egg-fried rice. Give me another serving." "I'm sorry. Each person can only have one serving per day," Bufang said expressionlessly. Ownerbu, money is not a problem. Otherwise, I can even increase the price. Give me another serving. This amount is not enough to fill my stomach," Fatty Jean said with a thick face. He really did not care about money. Compared to delicious food, money was nothing. "No, this is the rule," Bufang said coldly. After he finished speaking, he walked into the kitchen, ignoring the depressed and pained Fatty Jean. When all the dishes were cooked, Bufang rubbed his sore shoulders and walked out of the kitchen. In the store, Fatty Jean and the others were already satisfied with their meal. They all greeted Bufang, and Bufang expressionlessly nodded at them. A total of 55 crystals and 5,000 gold coins. This Although these fatties were not short of money, they still sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard the price. Only these nouveau riches in the imperial city could afford to spend so much money on a meal. Today is my treat. In the future, please come and visit Ownerbu's business more often. We can't let this delicacy go unnoticed. Fatty Jean was extremely forthright. He waved his arm and paid the money. You're welcome to come again. Bufong watched the group of satiated fatties leave with a stiff smile on his face. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission. Make a profit of 100 crystals and 1,000 gold coins in 7 days. The solemn and earnest voice of the system sounded in Bufong's mind. It made Bufong's calm heart slightly happy. He had finally completed the mission. However, his expression did not change much. The system had already announced the reward, but he was not in a hurry to check it since it was business hours. Outside the door, a slender and thin figure slowly walked in, gentle and handsome. Ownerbu, good afternoon. Give me a serving of improved egg fried rice. The third prince chuckled and found a seat. Bufong nodded. Please wait a moment. The group of fatties ate from morning until noon. Bufong's business hours also ended at noon. Just as Bufong was cooking egg fried rice in the kitchen, 2 more figures appeared outside the door. Your Highness is here as well? Xiao Xiaolong was pleasantly surprised when he saw Ji Qingxue already sitting inside Fong's little store. Beside him was the slim and veiled Xiao Yinyu. The aura on Xiao Yinyu's body became stronger and stronger, and her jade-like skin was glowing from time to time. Yinyu's cultivation level has improved again, as expected of a monstrous genius comparable to the Marquis of a small town. Ji Qingxue gently smiled. Xiao Yinyu slightly bowed toward Ji Qingxue and said with a voice that sounded like the chirping of an oriole, "The Marquis of a small town is extremely talented. He reached the peak of 4th grade battle spirit at the age of 15. How can Yinyu compare to him? Your Highness is overpraising me." Haha, are you here for a meal? Ownerbu's culinary skills are truly unparalleled. It feels much better than the imperial chefs. Ji Qingxue laughed. Bufong walked out of the kitchen with a blue and white porcelain plate in his hand. On the plate was the shining egg-fried rice. The rich aroma spread in all directions, causing Ji Qingxue and the others to be slightly intoxicated. Your improved egg-fried rice. Please enjoy, Bufong expressionlessly said. Ownerbu, do you have wine here? If this delicious egg-fried rice is paired with fine wine, they would truly be perfect. Ji Qingxue seriously looked at Bufong and suggested, "Wine?" Bufong was startled for a moment, then he nodded his head. "There will be in the future, don't worry. Ownerbu, give me 2 servings of improved egg-fried rice and 2 servings of stir-fried vegetables," Xiao Xiaolong excitedly said to Bufong. "Please wait a moment." Bufong turned around and returned to the kitchen. When he reached the entrance, he suddenly turned around and said, "Sissy, don't you want a serving of dry mixed noodles? I heard that dry mixed noodles and sissy go better together." Xiao Xiaolong expressionlessly looked at Bufong. If he had a kitchen knife at that moment, he would definitely hack at Bufong without hesitation. Xiao Yinyu and Ji Qingxue immediately burst into laughter. It turned out that the cold and serious owner, who also had a sense of humor. Bufong was slightly puzzled. He was merely stating a fact. Xiao Xiaolong had ordered dry mixed noodles every time he came, and he always ate it happily. The 2 dishes were indeed compatible. Ignoring the group, Bufong walked into the kitchen. After the 3 of them finished their meal, they paid and bid farewell to Bufong. They left Fong's little store with satisfied smiles on their faces. Every chef loved to see their customers leave with a satisfied smile on their faces. Even someone as cold as Bufong was no exception. After cleaning up the bowls and chopsticks, Fong's little store was open for business for 6 hours per day. There was only an hour left today. Bufong stretched and yawned. He curled up on a chair and leaned against the entrance of the store, preparing to spend the last hour. The scorching sun gradually shifted, and its light lost its sharpness and became gentle. The shadows of the buildings in the alleyway were elongated and looked like an old-fashioned oil painting. Bufong unknowingly became a little intoxicated by it. Tap, tap, tap. At that moment, the sound of footsteps woke him up. A petite figure wearing a floral dress quickly rushed into the store. She was leaning against the wall and panting with her back bent. Bufong expressionlessly looked at the person in front of him. Chapter 18. This was a little lowly carved from jade. She was wearing a floral dress, and her hair was tied up in a bun. Her skin was snow white and tender as if water could be squeezed out of it. Her big eyes shone brightly on her delicate and adorable face. Her cherry lips were a little pink, and she was petite and plump. What are you looking at? Have you never seen a beauty before? The little lowly patted her flat chest and took a deep breath. She carefully glanced outside the door and was slightly relieved when she realized that no one was chasing her. Then, she realized that Bufong was actually staring at her. She immediately glared at Bufong. Just a little lowly with no chest, Bufong calmly ridiculed as he stood up from his chair. Bufong was 8 meters tall, and he looked down at the little lowly. The little lowly's big eyes rolled around, and she raised her head to look at Bufong. "What would you like to eat?" Bufong asked. There was still less than an hour left until the opening time. He originally thought that there would not be any customers, but he did not expect a little lowly to appear. "What are you calling a girl with no chest?" The little lowly pouted and angrily glared at Bufong. "I just haven't started puberty yet." Bufong was expressionless. His gaze shifted, and he glanced at the little lowly's flat chest. The corner of his mouth slightly twitched this expression. The little lowly felt like she was about to explode. "If you want to order, please hurry up. There's less than an hour left until the opening time," Bufong coldly said. The little lowly glanced outside the door again and realized that the person chasing her seemed to have run through the alleyway. She let out a long sigh and then swaggered into a chair. With a tender voice, she asked, "What do you have here? Tell me." "There's a menu on the menu. Look at it later," Bufong said. "Don't you have a mouth?" The little lowly angrily glared at Bufong again, and then turned her head to look at the menu. "This is a scam. This is definitely a scam." When the little girl saw the price on the menu, she was instantly enraged. She jumped up from her chair and pointed at Bufong. "You black-hearted boss, I'm going to get my father to arrest you." Bufong's face darkened and the corner of his mouth twitched. He was going to be the god of cooking who would stand at the top of the food chain in the fantasy world in the future. He had no time to play with this little girl. Therefore, Bufong patted the little lowly's head, then picked her up and walked out of the door. As he walked, he simply said, "Be good, go home and play." Being carried by Bufong, the little girl immediately bared her fangs and brandished her claws. Her delicate and adorable little face was almost squeezed into a ball. "You lecher, let go of me." She didn't want to go out. Her father's guards were looking for her. If she went out, wouldn't she be a lamb walking into a tiger's den? I'll order. The little lowly rolled her eyes and said in a sweet voice. Bufong was startled and put her down. The little lowly wrinkled her nose and angrily snorted at Bufong. She quickly ran back to her seat and said, "Give me the most expensive dish." "No, your cultivation level is not high enough," Bufong expressionlessly said. The little lowly was stunned. What kind of ghost store was this? Even eating a meal depended on one's cultivation level. "Then give me a serving of egg-fried rice," the little lowly helplessly said. "Please wait a moment." Bufong glanced at the little lowly, then turned around and entered the kitchen. The little lowly was bored to death as she sat in the store. She looked around and found the environment to be pretty good. After a while, Bufong walked out of the kitchen with a bowl of egg-fried rice on a blue and white porcelain plate. "Your egg-fried rice. Please enjoy. So fragrant." The little lowly's eyes immediately lit up. Looking at the sparkling egg-fried rice in front of her, she was completely stunned. The rich fragrance made her stomach rumble uncontrollably. Without hesitation, the little lowly immediately gobbled down the food. Slurp, slurp. Without any care for his image, Bufong suddenly felt that the way she ate was similar to the big black dog. A bowl of egg-fried rice. This little lowly actually ate it cleanly. Rubbing her bulging stomach, the little lowly satisfyingly let out a breath and leaned against the chair. It's really delicious, the little lowly thought. One crystal, thank you. Bufong condescendingly stared at the little lowly. The little lowly blinked her adorable eyes as she looked at Bufong. Suddenly, her big eyes became moist and her rosy and adorable little mouth pouted. With a slightly wronged expression, she said to Bufong, "Big brother, I ran away from home and I don't have any money on me. Look at how cute I am. Can you not charge me?" Bufong was expressionless. Oh, so this little lowly is here to freeload. No wonder she looks so much like the big black dog. The big black dog, who was lying at the entrance, suddenly raised its head. It extended its neck and vigilantly scanned the surroundings. Only after discovering that nothing was wrong did it continue to yawn and lie down. "You don't have any money?" Bufong asked. "Yes." The little lowly blinked her big watery eyes and said pitifully, "I don't have any money on me right now." "Shall buy," Bufong softly shouted. The little lowly was startled. Then, she felt a huge shadow suddenly appear behind her. "Troublemaker, you will be stripped as an example to others," Xiao Bai's electronic eyes flashed as he mechanically said. "Strip, strip. You want to strip me?" The little lowly was stunned for a moment. Then, she was truly frightened and her beautiful face turned pale. The corners of Bufong's mouth twitched as well. He hurriedly stopped Xiao Bai. "System, is there any punishment for freeloading?" Bufong asked as he rubbed his nose. No matter what, this little girl was still a girl. Even though she did not have a chest, stripping her naked was not a good idea. The little lowly was already scared out of her wits. Both of her legs were trembling. This was definitely a scam. There was actually such a terrifying thing that wanted to strip such an adorable little girl's clothes. There are two types of punishment. First, you will be stripped as an example to others. Second, you will have to pay with your body, the system solemnly said. "Pay with my body?" There was such a benefit. Bufong raised his eyebrows and glanced at the little lowly's flat chest. He sighed and shook his head. As the saying goes, you'll have to pay with your body and become a waiter of the store for a week. The system solemnly helped Bufong correct the improper thoughts in his mind. Bufong's face did not even blush as he lightly coughed. "Since you don't have the money to pay, then you will have to work for the store for a week. Your main job is to serve the customers meals," Bufong said. The little lowly was stunned for a moment, then happily nodded her head and said, "Okay." This time, it was Bufong's turn to be stunned. He thought, "Why did you agree so easily? Don't you want to refuse?" "There's no salary," Bufong reminded her. However, the little lowly proudly rolled her eyes at him. Just like that, the little lowly who ran away from home stayed at Fong Fong's little store and became a waiter. Once the opening hours arrived, Bufong closed the store and returned upstairs. The homeless little lowly who ran away from home was placed in another room. It was only after the little lowly begged and threw a tantrum that Bufong finally agreed. "Congratulations to the host for completing the short-term mission. You will soon receive the system reward. The system reward is being released." Bufong excitedly sat in the room and waited expectantly. This time, there should be a new dish. "Young man, congratulations on completing the short-term mission in order to become the god of cooking who stands at the top of the food chain in the fantasy world. You have taken a solid step toward becoming the god of cooking. Reward: cooking method of fish, try cooking, and golden shumai. You will receive a fragment of the god of cooking set." Bufong was stunned. Fish try cooking? Golden shumai? Does this count as unlocking a new skill? Moreover, two of them were unlocked. Bufong felt as if he had been struck by a pleasant surprise. Chapter 19. What was fish try cooking? Bufong had some doubts. As a chef, he was naturally familiar with fish because fish was actually a very good ingredient. Different fish could be cooked into different delicacies. Fish try cooking refers to the three cooking methods of fish: Lee's fish, Sichuan boiled fish, and fish head tofu soup. The system will provide the host with fresh ingredients. According to the host's current chi level, the fish materials used are all third-grade freshwater fish and saltwater fish. As the host's chi level increases, the quality of the fish materials will gradually increase. The system's serious voice sounded in Bufong's mind. Bufang was slightly stunned. So the fish try-cooking referred to the 3 cooking methods of fish, and these cooking methods were not unfamiliar to Bufang. On Earth, Bufang had eaten the authentic Lee's fish from Poyang Lake. However, the key to Lee's fish was the wine. The wine had to be strong, aged wine. This way, during the marinating process, the wine fragrance would seep into the fish. Generally speaking, a good Lee's fish would be wrapped in light pink lees. The wine fragrance would permeate the air, and the fish would have a jujube red color. The color would give off an intoxicating sense of beauty. The wine was the key. Would the system provide wine as well? For the cooking method of Lee's fish, the system will provide the best rice wine, Lee's every day. The host will have to marinate it himself. The system said. Bufang nodded. Since the system would provide rice wine Lee's, making Lee's fish would not be a problem. Bufang was very familiar with Sichuan boiled fish and fish head tofu soup. Needless to say, Sichuan boiled fish was a very popular dish on Earth. At night, it would be sold like crazy in the street stalls. Fish head tofu soup was not an ordinary home-cooked dish. For Bufang, it was naturally not difficult to cook. The host has completed the short-term target mission. The current business income is 100 yuan crystals. According to the ratio, the obtained yuan crystal energy is 10 yuan crystals. The chi level has increased to combat master. Congratulations to the host for the increase in chi level. You have taken a step forward on the road to becoming the god of cooking in the fantasy world. Work hard, young man. The system said seriously and solemnly. The system's notification made Bufang happy. He quickly called up the character panel. Host, Bufang True Energy Cultivation, 2nd grade. As the god of cooking in the fantasy world, the food in the future will definitely require true energy. Young man, work hard. Cooking talent, temporarily locked. Skill locked. Tool none. God of cooking overall rating, beginner. Your true energy cultivation is finally on the right track. Work hard, young man. System level, 2-star, vitality conversion ratio, 20%. Obtain permission to open tables and chairs. Customers are allowed to bring ingredients lower than grade 3. Bufang took a deep breath and raised his hand. His skin glowed, as if there was an invisible energy circulating in his body. A 2nd-grade battle master was unable to externalize true energy. However, when true energy circulated within the body, it could still be traced. As the true energy circulated, Bufang felt more and more energetic. The fatigue on his body was swept away, and some black impurities were also expelled from his body. If someone were to witness this scene, they would definitely be so shocked that their jaws would drop. That was because Bufang was currently cleansing his tendons and meridians. That was something that could only happen when one was a 4th-grade battle spirit. Bufang patted his chest and felt his bulging muscles. A stiff smile appeared on his face. As a chef, a strong physique was indispensable. Even though the system only increased the level of his true energy and did not teach him any cultivation techniques or battle skills like in novels, it was already enough. That was because the system was a gourmet system and not a battle maniac system. What he needed was the system's help to reach the top of the food chain in the fantasy world. The stench emitted by the impurities on his body caused Bufang to frown. He entered the bathroom and took a nice shower. His entire body relaxed. The refreshed Bufang put on his clothes and went to the kitchen. He could not wait to try out the newly learned skill. A wine jar as tall as a person had appeared in the corner of the kitchen. Bufang raised his eyebrows in surprise. He thought that it was probably prepared by the system for marinating the Lee's fish. The Lee's fish had a very high requirement for wine. When Bufang opened the cloth cover of the sealed wine jar, an extremely rich aroma of wine immediately assailed his senses. Bufang's nose slightly narrowed and a blush appeared on his face. What a rich aroma of wine! Bufang looked inside and saw that the jar was filled with yellow-brown distiller's grains that were evenly distributed. Between the distiller's grains flowed a fragrant and smooth wine. He scooped up a spoonful of distiller's grains and brought it closer to his nose to take a whiff. A faint sour aroma, mixed with a hint of sweetness, came from it. He crushed the distiller's grains with his finger. The rice grains were hard, soft, and slightly sticky. Without a doubt, this was a portion of high-quality distiller's grains. Regardless of whether it was the distiller's grains or the final wine, they were all top-notch goods. The products of the system were indeed of the highest quality. After covering the distiller's grains with the cloth cover again, Bufong's gaze landed on a large fish tank in the corner of the kitchen. Inside the fish tank, there were two fish swimming lazily while wagging their tails. This was a species that Bufong had never seen before. There should not be such a species on Earth. One of the fish's body was emitting a faint blue fluorescence. Its eyeballs were rolling around and filled with spirit energy. The lines of its body were also very perfect. The other fish appeared much more ferocious. Its head was swollen and its body was jet black. Its scales were reflecting light. Bufong pulled up his sleeves and expressionlessly stood in front of the fish tank, staring at the two fish. Suddenly, he made his move. Both of his hands quickly inserted into the fish tank. In the instant that ripples appeared in the water, he grabbed the blue fluorescent fish. The fish's reaction was also very fast. Its body suddenly emitted a wave as it tried to shake off Bufong's hands. After all, this was not an ordinary fish. It was a third-grade spirit beast fish. Although its combat ability was not strong, its resistance was still quite strong. Bufong was like an experienced fisherman. His 5 fingers firmly gripped the fish's body, causing it to struggle more and more powerless. Finally, it was fished out of the fish tank by Bufong and placed on the chopping board. This kitchen was prepared and renovated by the system. All kinds of kitchenware were available. Bufong conveniently picked up a kitchen knife. The kitchen knife emitted a cold light, but it did not affect Bufong's movements in the slightest. Third-grade ice sea fish, a type of sea fish found in the northeastern waters of the Light Wind Empire. Its body emits a blue light, and its flesh contains cold air and spirit energy. It is an excellent ingredient. The system's introduction of the blue fluorescent fish was not low. Presumably, the system would not provide Bufong with low-grade ingredients. The importance of good ingredients to a delicacy was self-evident. In terms of taste, the difference in ingredients would make a world of difference. True energy was guided into his palm. Bufong held the kitchen knife and slapped it on the head of the ice sea fish. The struggling ice sea fish suddenly stopped moving. He smoothly scraped the scales and cut open the fish's stomach. Bufong was very experienced in handling fish. After a short while, the icy fish was completely processed. Walking to the side of the wine jar, Bufong opened the cloth cover and scooped out some distiller's grains from the wine jar. He then stuffed the entire ice sea fish into the wine jar to marinate. A special wine jar can speed up the marinating time. Estimated time to finish marinating is 6 hours, the system notified. Bufong was stunned for a moment, then nodded. If he could speed up the marinating process, he could sell the fish in time. As long as he could marinate the fish before opening the store, it would be fine. After marinating the ice sea fish, Bufong turned to prepare the second dish. The fish in the fish tank became 2 again. Unknowingly, the system had already filled up the empty spots. This way, Bufong could always have fish ingredients. After scooping out the pitch-black fat fish and processing it as well, Bufong chopped off the fish's head and started to make the fish head tofu soup. Taking out the white and translucent tofu from the freezer, Bufong started to cook it. Third-grade thunder silver carp, freshwater fish from the southern wasteland lake of the Light Wind Empire. The fish has a fat head and a lot of meat. The meat is delicious and contains faint lightning. It is a top-notch ingredient. Ice crystal jadeite tofu, made from the exquisite spirit energy soybeans produced in the northern part of the Light Wind Empire. They are all hand-ground and go through many processes. It is a special tofu for the Imperial Palace. Both the tofu and the fish were amazing. Bufong was filled with anticipation for the fish head tofu soup. When the lid was lifted, a rich aroma with the fragrance of the fish assaulted Bufong's nostrils. He could not help but take a deep breath and feel hungry. The little loli, who was bored to death in the guest room, suddenly twitched her nose. Her lively and cute big eyes immediately rolled around and were filled with surprise. It smells so good. Don't tell me that the expressionless boss is cooking something delicious. This smell, it's not egg fried rice. The little Loli's nose was very sensitive. She turned around and immediately ran out of the guest room. In the kitchen, Bu Fong had just finished preparing the fish head tofu soup. The milky white fish soup, the plump and tender fish head, and the translucent white jade-like tofu. There were no chopped onions, no ginger, and no other seasoning. This was the original combination of fish head and tofu. The fragrant fish head tofu soup was placed on the table, and it stimulated one's appetite. Chapter 20. The blue and white porcelain bowl contained the fish head tofu soup. The milky white fish soup didn't have any impurities. The fish was plump and tender, and the tofu was crystal clear like jade, as if it would shatter with a touch. A rich fragrance lingered above the porcelain bowl. Under the dim light, it emitted an alluring luster. Bu Fong took a deep breath in satisfaction. The fragrance of the fish entered his nostrils and spread to his limbs and bones. The fish head tofu soup was actually a very difficult home-cooked dish. It tested one's control over the heat. However, with Bu Fong's culinary skills, he naturally had a very good control over the heat. Only then would the fish soup be as white as milk and be free of impurities. After carrying the blue and white porcelain bowl out of the kitchen and placing it on the table, Bu Fong found a small blue and white porcelain bowl and prepared to personally taste the delicious fish head tofu soup. "Dear boss, what are you cooking? Why does it smell so good?" Just as Bu Fong was about to start, a small head popped out from behind the door. Her charming big eyes stared straight at the fish head tofu soup placed in front of Bu Fong. Bu Fong was stunned for a moment. He glanced at the little girl expressionlessly. He had almost forgotten about this girl. With the fragrance of the fish head tofu soup, it was impossible for this girl not to be attracted. "I'm trying a new dish," Bu Fong said calmly. By the time Bu Fong finished speaking, the little girl had already run to Bu Fong from behind the door. Her small mouth was continuously smacking as her eyes stared fixedly at the porcelain bowl. "A new dish? It looks delicious. Is this fish soup? Why is the soup milky white? This tofu is so beautiful. It's like a work of art. Why isn't it cooked? Wow, this fish head is so meaty. It looks delicious." Bu Fong put down his bowl and chopsticks. He stared at the chattering little girl and sighed, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "Go get a bowl and chopsticks. Let's try it together." The little Loli's eyes immediately lit up, and a happy smile appeared on her chubby face. "Boss, you're the best." Thus, the little girl ran to the kitchen and took a porcelain bowl. She ran back quickly and stared at Bu Fong impatiently. The corner of Bu Fong's mouth twitched slightly as he smiled stiffly. He took the little Loli's porcelain bowl and scooped up half of the fish soup. Then he used his chopsticks to pick up a piece of plump and tender fish cheek meat and scooped up 1 or 2 pieces of crystal clear tofu. The little Lolita happily took the bowl and sniffed it. The warm fragrance made her unable to help but let out a delicate cry. The little Loli seemed to be very knowledgeable when it came to eating. She did not eat the fish first. Instead, she held the porcelain bowl and drank a mouthful of the fish soup. The delicious milky white fish soup flowed into the little Loli's red and tender lips. The faint thickness made her feel as smooth as silk. The rich fragrance instantly bloomed in her mouth and enveloped her taste buds. The delicious taste made her body gently relax. "Good? Delicious. It smells so good." The little Loli held the bowl and took small sips with satisfaction. Her big eyes narrowed like 2 crescent moons. That blissful look made it seem as if she could hold the fish soup and drink it for the rest of her life. "Don't just drink the soup. Eat a piece of fish meat. There might be a surprise," Bu Fong gently said as he looked at the little Loli drinking the fish soup. He also scooped up a bowl of the fish soup and drank it. The taste was indeed rich and delicious. The freshness of the ingredients was vividly reflected. This fish meat. Why is there a numbing feeling of lightning? The little loli ate a piece of fish meat, and her face was filled with shock. Even though the fish meat had the numbing feeling of lightning, it did not reduce the points of the fish soup. Instead, it added a lot of points. This was because the numbing feeling came from the ingredients themselves. The combination of the freshness and the numbing feeling of lightning made the taste even more distinct and rich. The tofu was also extremely soft and melted in the mouth. The fragrance of the tofu, mixed with the freshness of the fish meat in the mouth, brought about a different kind of enjoyment. This is the best fish soup I have ever tasted, the little loli said to Bu Fong in a serious manner after drinking the last drop of fish soup in the porcelain bowl. Furthermore, it was not only delicious. As the fish soup entered her stomach, a warm feeling flowed through her entire body, and the circulation of her true energy became much smoother. And I got it. Eat your fill and go to bed early. You still have work tomorrow. Bu Fong expressionlessly nodded and reminded her. The little loli's expression froze. Then, she proudly snorted and put down the porcelain bowl. She turned around and was about to return to the guest room. However, when she reached the door, the little loli hesitated for a moment before she turned around and said to Bu Fong, "Smelly boss, my name is Ouyang Xiaoi. You can call me Xiaoi." Bu Fong was stunned for a moment before he said, "And I got it." Ouyang Xiaoi was speechless. The little loli was furious. "I have already told you my name. Shouldn't this smelly boss tell me his name?" "Smelly boss, what's your name?" Xiaoi proudly asked. "Bu Fong." Bu Fong calmly answered as he cleaned up the bowls and chopsticks. Xiaoi snorted. She finally returned to the guest room and went to sleep contentedly. After cleaning up the bowls and chopsticks and placing them in the automatic dishwasher prepared by the system, Bu Fong stretched his body. He also planned to go to bed early. Even though his body had become stronger, sleep was still very important. Because he had eaten the fish head tofu soup and his mouth was still filled with the rich fragrance of fish, Bu Fong temporarily lost interest in making the other reward from the system, the golden shumai. The night passed uneventfully. When a morning sun shone on the entrance of the store, Bu Fong opened the door after completing his daily training. Ouyang Xiaoi also rubbed her sleepy eyes and got up. When she saw Bu Fong feeding the big black dog at the entrance, she immediately came over curiously. When she saw that the bowl that the big black dog was desperately chewing on was filled with the egg fried rice that she had eaten yesterday, she was completely confused. Bu Fong glanced at her and said expressionlessly, "I forgot to tell you yesterday. Because you are here to work to repay your debt, the store will not provide you with food. If you want food from the store, please pay the bill as usual." The little loli forcibly withdrew her gaze from the big black dog's bowl. After hearing Bu Fong's words, she immediately looked at him with pitiful eyes. Bu Fong was not moved at all. "All right." The little loli retreated in defeat. She cursed Bu Fong in her heart that he would not be able to find a wife in the future. Bu Fong leisurely curled up on the chair, basking in the warm sunlight. Ouyang Xiaoi, on the other hand, was sitting not far away with a bitter face. The scene was quite harmonious. Finally, Fatty Jean and his group arrived and greeted Bu Fong with familiarity. "Good morning, Owner Bu. The weather is good today." A smile appeared on Fatty Jin's fat face. Bu Fong nodded and softly replied with an "in." He then stood up and entered the kitchen. "What do you want to order?" "Just tell the girl." "All right, there's a new dish today. Do you want to try it?" "Yo." A cute little girl actually came. "Owner Bu, your taste is really unique." Fatty Jean instantly smiled mischievously and looked at Ouyang Xiaoi. However, the smile on his face quickly disappeared, and his face slightly trembled. "Oh my God, how could it be this girl? What the F***CK?" Fatty Jean blinked his eyes and glanced at the little loli. "That's right, it really is that girl. Oh my God, Owner Bu is really awesome. He can even get this girl to be a waiter." Did her 3 barbaric brothers agree? "Fatty Jean, what do you want to eat? Hurry up." Ouyang Xiaoi also recognized Fatty Jean and immediately snorted impatiently. "Today I will have the improved egg fried rice and the new dish." Fatty Jean hurriedly said. The other fatties also ordered their food. However, today, these fatties were not as fierce as yesterday. They only ordered 1 or 2 dishes. After all, these dishes were not cheap. All right, wait for a while. Ouyang Xiaoi seriously noted down everyone's order. She turned around and walked to the kitchen. When she reached the door, she gave a menu to Bu Fong. Only Fatty Jean ordered the fish head tofu soup. Bu Fong was a little surprised, but it was not beyond his expectations. Because the fish head tofu soup was indeed not cheap. It cost 20 crystals for a portion. It was a sky-high price. Only Fatty Jean, who did not lack money, dared to order food so casually. Although the others were also rich, they were not as rich as Fatty Jean. Fish head tofu soup? Interesting. It actually costs 20 crystals. I want to see what's so special about it. Fatty Jean sat on the stool, his heart full of expectations. Chapter 21. A serving of fish head tofu soup took much longer than the egg fried rice. Because it needed to be simmered over a fire, Bu Fong also finished cooking the egg fried rice while he was cooking the fish head tofu soup. There was a window between the kitchen and the store that seemed to have just been opened by the system. Bu Fong placed the egg fried rice on the window and called the little lowly over. This is the improved egg fried rice. Serve it to the customer, Bu Fong calmly said. He ignored the little lowly and returned to the kitchen. He actually asked me to serve the dishes? Ouyang Xiaoi widened her eyes, and her face was filled with disbelief. With her status, no one in the mansion dared to ask her to do any heavy work, let alone serve dishes like a servant. The little lowly looked at Bu Fong's back and immediately scrunched up her nose as she arrogantly snorted. She picked up the tray with both hands. The egg-fried rice on the blue and white porcelain plate was emitting a rich fragrance as it continuously flowed into the little lowly's stomach. She, who had not eaten breakfast, felt a pang of hunger. Why does this smell so good? Ouyang Xiaoi was about to go crazy. The golden egg-fried rice seemed to be emitting an infinite amount of magic as it continuously aroused the hunger in her stomach. This waiter is simply inhuman. Ouyang Xiaoi muttered in her heart. She placed the egg-fried rice in front of Fatty Jean and angrily snorted. This Fatty Jean actually dared to ask him to serve the dishes. When Fatty Jean saw Ouyang Xiaoi personally serving the dishes, his face was immediately filled with flattery, and he hurriedly stood up to welcome her. Ouyang Xiaoi ignored him. She placed the egg-fried rice down and quickly turned around to leave. She was really afraid that she would not be able to control herself and directly eat the egg-fried rice. Once again placing the egg-fried rice on the window, Bu Fong was slightly surprised when he saw Ouyang Xiaoi walking over. Ouyang Xiaoi used a handkerchief to cover her nostrils and tied a knot at the back of her head, just like a sneaky thief. "What's wrong with you?" Bu Fong expressionlessly asked. "Smelly boss, do you know how much temptation a waiter has to resist when smelling the aroma of the dishes?" Little lowly rolled her eyes at Bu Fong and said in a muffled voice. The corner of Bu Fong's mouth twitched, but he didn't smile. 15 minutes later, the fish head tofu soup was ready. A rich aroma immediately drifted out of the kitchen and lingered in the air above the restaurant. Fatty Jean, who was eating the egg-fried rice, suddenly stopped. He raised his head and sniffed, as if he wanted to inhale the smell in the air. "It smells so good. This is not the aroma of egg-fried rice. Could it be the smell of a new dish?" Fatty Jean muttered to himself. Then his eyes lit up as he looked toward the kitchen with anticipation. The porcelain plate containing the fish head tofu soup was relatively large. Bu Fong did not let the little lowly carry it. Instead, he grabbed the porcelain bowl and slowly walked out of the kitchen. As soon as he came out, he attracted everyone's attention. Everyone curiously looked at the huge celadon bowl in Bu Fong's hand. Fatty Jean was a little impatient. Quick! Quick! Fatty Jean eagerly looked at Bu Fong, who was slowly walking toward him. He couldn't hold back his urge to taste the delicacy. A bowl of milky white fish soup with translucent and tender fish meat and jade-like tofu was placed in front of Fatty Jean. A rich aroma wafted through the air. "Your fish head tofu soup, please enjoy," Bu Fong calmly said. With a wave of clamor, The crowd, who had woken up from the aroma of the fish soup, gathered around Fatty Jean. Their huge bodies squeezed Bufong and Xiaoyi away. Bufong, on the other hand, didn't care. He expressionlessly curled up on a chair in front of the store. Ouyang Xiaoyi was so angry that she clenched her teeth. This group of fatties, they actually dared to push me away. She clenched her teeth and stared at the group of fatties who were attracted by the delicacy. She felt a wave of helplessness in her heart. She angrily snorted and ignored them. Gulp, gulp. The fatties around Fatty Jean were envious as they watched Fatty Jean drink the fish soup and eat the fish meat with a face full of happiness. Their throats moved up and down, and the sound of gulping could be heard. Old Jean, is this fish head tofu soup really that delicious? A fat man asked curiously. He had been tempted by the aroma of the soup for a long time. Fatty Jean spat out a fish bone from his mouth and replied with a face full of enjoyment. This fish soup is indescribably delicious. It's hard to imagine that it's actually a fish soup cooked with tofu. The fish meat is fresh and tender, and the hardness is just right. When you bite into it, it feels like you've just experienced a massage. Not to mention the tofu. It disappeared with a sizzle and melted in your mouth. Moreover, the fish meat has a thunderous feeling. It should be the meat of a thunder-type spirit beast. After eating it, it will help to increase the true energy in the body. All in all, this bowl of fish soup is well worth the money. Fatty Jean was full of praises, and it immediately made the hearts of these rich people itch. Finally, as if he had made up his mind about something, the fatty turned around and said to Bufong, "Owner Boo, give me a bowl of fish head tofu soup as well." Bufong lazily raised his head, glanced at the fatty, and expressionlessly said, "No, your cultivation level is not high enough. You're not allowed to order food." The fatty was immediately dumbfounded and anxiously said, "Owner, I have money. I really do. If your cultivation level is not high enough, you're not allowed to order food. This is the rule, and it has nothing to do with money." Bufong indifferently said with an incomparably cold tone, as if he was really not interested in money. In fact, Bufong's heart was already bleeding. 20 crystals. That was all hard-earned money. Bufong's stern refusal did not come as a surprise to the others. Therefore, most of them did not continue to question Bufong. They all knew that Fong Fong's little store attached great importance to the rules. Fatty Jean was very satisfied. He contentedly took out his money, waved at Bufong, and left. However, before he left, he was pulled by the little lowly and whispered for a while. The little lowly returned with a bright smile on her face, as if she had just picked up money. "Smelly boss, give me a bowl of egg-fried rice and fish head tofu soup," the little lowly charmingly shouted at Bufong as soon as she entered the store. Bufong raised his eyebrows and simply said, "You want a freeload again? I have money. Hurry up and cook it for me," the little lowly said coquettishly. "Your cultivation level is not high enough, so you can't order fish head tofu soup." Bufong stood up. If the little lowly had money, then there would be no problem. Looking at the situation just now, the little lowly must have borrowed a lot of money from Fatty Jean. "You're lying. I clearly drank the fish head tofu soup last night." The little lowly immediately complained. She felt that Bufong was purposely making things difficult for her. Bufong was startled for a moment, then said, "There is no limit when trying a new dish. Didn't you notice that your true energy did not increase after eating so much soup? That's because I removed the spirit energy from the dish. That's why you can taste it." Actually, the spirit energy in the fish soup that Bufong ate was extracted by the system. Since his cultivation level could not withstand the spirit energy in the soup, it could easily cause his true energy to become chaotic. Therefore, the system would extract the spirit energy from the dish when he was tasting a new dish. Bufong only needed to feel the texture and taste of the dish. The little lowly was speechless. She did notice that the true energy within Fatty Jin's body had increased by a large amount after eating the fish head tofu soup. It seemed like there was a limit. Then give me a bowl of egg-fried rice first." The little lowly felt wronged and dejectedly said, "Oh, wait a moment. Bufang simply said, then turned around and went into the kitchen. After he entered the kitchen, 3 figures appeared outside the door. One of them was the elegant third prince, Ji Qingxue, while the other 2 were the extremely good-looking Xiao siblings. The moment the 3 of them entered the store, they were stunned when they saw the little lowly sitting on a stool with a pouting mouth. Xiaoi, why are you here? General Ouyang is going crazy looking for you. The entire imperial city is about to fall into chaos. Xiao Yinyu shouted in shock when she saw the little lowly. Only then did Ouyang Xiaoi notice the 3 of them. When she turned around and saw Xiao Yinyu and the others, her pretty face immediately changed. Chapter 22. When Ouyang Xiaoi saw Xiao Yinyu, she turned around without hesitation and planned to run toward the guest room. She saw that the situation was not good and wanted to sneak in. However, who was Xiao Yinyu? She was the most talented girl in the imperial city and a genius with a cultivation of 4th-grade battle spirit. She took a step forward and appeared beside the little lowly as if she had teleported. She grabbed onto the little lowly's clothes. Sister Yinyu, what a coincidence. Ouyang Xiaoi blinked her big eyes and realized that she could not escape. She looked at the frosty Xiao Yinyu with an innocent and romantic expression. Xiao Yinyu, on the other hand, knocked on the little lowly's head and said, "You little girl, now that you've grown up, you even learned to run away from home. Do you know how anxious Grandpa Ouyang is?" Xiao Xiaolong and Ji Qingxue also walked over with smiles on their faces. Xiao Xiaolong even winked at Ouyang Xiaoi and said, "Hey, the imperial city is about to be turned upside down by the old general because of this little girl, yet this little girl is secretly tasting delicious food here. If old General Ouyang finds out, won't he vomit blood from anger? Xiaoi, be good. The old general is doing this for your own good, so you should go back. You're old and should not get angry." Ji Qingxue, dressed in white, gently looked at the little girl. Ouyang Xiaoi felt wronged as she rubbed her head and muttered, "I'm not going back. Grandpa forces me to practice martial arts every day. How can my small arms and legs be suitable for wielding swords and spears? Besides, I'm so cute. Wouldn't it be a waste for me to practice martial arts?" When Xiao Yinyu heard this, she was immediately amused. She had a good relationship with the little girl since they were young, so she understood Ouyang Xiaoi's temperament very well. The Light Wind Empire is governed by martial arts. Your grandfather, old General Ouyang, was born a martial artist and followed His Majesty on expeditions. He naturally values martial arts and hopes that his descendants can inherit the essence of his martial arts. Do you know how many people in the entire Light Wind Empire want to be under old General Ouyang's tutelage? Only a little girl like you doesn't know how fortunate you are. Ouyang Xiaoi still felt wronged. She pouted and angrily turned her head away with a tsundere expression. Ji Qingxue and Xiao Xiaolong immediately burst into laughter. This little girl had always been a source of amusement for them. Previously, they were still worried that she would run into danger after running away from home. Now, it seemed that she was safe. The third prince, Ji Qingxue, patted Ouyang Xiaoi's head and said sternly, "Xiaoi, there are many experts from various sects in the imperial capital now. You must not run around. Now is not the time to throw a tantrum. If you were to be abducted by some expert from one of the sects, it would be a huge hindrance to old General Ouyang." The little girl was still a little afraid of the gentle and refined third Prince Ji Qingxue. She blinked her big eyes and nodded in an aggrieved manner. At this time, Bufang had finished cooking the egg-fried rice. He put the egg-fried rice on the window and said in a cold voice, "Little girl, your egg-fried rice." "Sigh, coming." Hearing that her egg-fried rice was ready, the grievance on the little girl's face immediately disappeared. She jumped up excitedly and quickly ran to the window. She placed the fragrant egg-fried rice on the table. The little girl was already starving and could not be bothered with the third prince and the others. She immediately buried her head in the food and began to gorge herself. "This girl, I can't believe she actually found this place." Xiao Xiaolong smiled as he looked at Ouyang Xiaoi, who was burying her head in the food, and a gentle expression appeared on his face. Owner Bu, give me the improved egg fried rice. The third prince, Ji Qingxue, elegantly shouted toward the kitchen. However, Bu Fong did not come out. He just calmly replied, I'm ordering from that little girl. Ji Qingxue, Xiao Xiaolong, and Xiao Yinyu were all startled. The little lowly who was gobbling down the celadone plate was startled for a moment. Then, she raised her head with a few grains of golden rice on her face and adorably said, I am now a waitress here. Tell me what you want to order first. You? Waitress? Xiao Xiaolong widened his eyes and looked at Ouyang Xiaoi with a strange expression. Honorbu is really awesome. He actually dared to take this little girl as a waitress. Isn't he afraid that the 3 barbarians from the Ouyang family will tear down his store? Xiao Yinyu frowned and said, Xiaoi, it's not easy for Owner Bu to open this store. Don't be a scourge. Ji Qingxue also nodded with a serious expression. Ouyang Xiaoi expressionlessly looked at the 3 of them. She really wanted to spit out a mouthful of egg fried rice at them. What do they mean by scourge? Was she, Ouyang Xiaoi, so awesome? It was obviously this smelly boss who threatened her and wanted her to pay with her body, okay? After swallowing the egg fried rice in her mouth, Ouyang Xiaoi snorted and said, Look for me when you order. Tell me what you want to eat. This waitress doesn't have time to be intimate with you guys. At this moment, the 3 of them could not help but admit that Owner Bu really hired this little girl as a waitress. They also admired Bu Fong's guts. Who didn't know that the little princess of the Ouyang family was the #1 troublemaker in the imperial city? She would feel uncomfortable if she did not cause trouble all day long. There's a new dish? When Xiao Xiaolong saw the name of a new dish appear on the menu, he immediately widened his eyes in surprise. Xiao Yinyu and Ji Qingxue's attention was also attracted by it. It was no small matter that Owner Bu had released a new dish. Li's fish and fish head tofu soup. Xiao Xiaolong read out. His eyes narrowed and the corner of his mouth twitched. Li's fish costs 20 crystals each. Fish head tofu soup costs 20 crystals each. Owner Bu's dishes are as expensive as ever. That fish head tofu soup is so delicious. I tasted it last night. It's really delicious. It's the best fish soup I've ever tasted. It's even better than the Fat Uncle's 7-star glazed fish soup. Ouyang Xiaoi's eyes lit up as she hurriedly said. Xiao Yinyu was startled. The Fat Uncle Ouyang Xiaoi mentioned was none other than the head chef of the imperial kitchen. How could this fish soup be better than the Fat Uncle's signature dish? I'm indeed looking forward to it. Since Xiaoi said so, then give me Li's fish. Ji Qingxue smiled elegantly and narrowed his eyes. Ouyang Xiaoi expressionlessly looked at him. What happened to the trust between people? Then I'll order the fish head tofu soup, Xiao Yinyu gently said. Her voice was still as pleasant as before, like the chirping of a bird in an empty valley. I'll order the improved egg fried rice. Xiao Xiaolong was having a headache. He never expected that Bu Fong would release a new dish today. Therefore, he did not bring enough crystals, and the store did not allow customers to buy on credit. All right, wait for a while. The little lowly earnestly noted down the dishes ordered by the 3 of them. Then, she ran toward the kitchen window and reported the names of the dishes to Bu Fong. All right, got it. Bu Fong expressionlessly nodded his head. Then, he turned around and began to prepare the ingredients. Someone ordered the Li's fish? Bu Fong's heart skipped a beat. He was looking forward to it as well. He walked toward the wine jar and removed the cloth cover. Suddenly, a rich aroma of wine rushed into his nose. The intoxicating aroma caused his face to involuntarily blush. He took out the rank 3 IC fish that had been marinated last night. The light blue meat of the IC fish had been marinated a little pink due to the marination. It had a rich flavor, and the thick distiller's lees had covered the rank 3 IC fish from inside out. Bu Fong swept away the distiller's grains on the outside of the IC fish's body, leaving only the distiller's grains in its belly. Then, he placed it on the chopping board and used a kitchen knife to make a few cuts on the fish. This was to allow the fish to fully absorb the flavor during the steaming process. He He carefully placed the third-grade IC fish on a blue and white porcelain plate provided by the system. Then, he placed it into the steamer and began to steam it. This process would take about 10 minutes. Therefore, Bufang began to prepare the fish head tofu soup. Bufang, who had cooked it a few times, was already very familiar with this dish. His smooth movements were full of beauty. While the fish head tofu soup was simmering, Bufang began to cook the egg-fried rice. The egg-fried rice did not take much time, so Bufang quickly finished cooking it. Ouyang Xiaoyi once again used her unique posture to serve the dish. The corner of Bufang's mouth twitched. At this moment, a mellow and rich aroma of fish and wine wafted out from the steamer. The wine, in particular, was extremely intoxicating. When Ji Qingxue smelled the aroma of the wine, his eyes immediately lit up. Those who practice martial arts were naturally people who loved wine. The aroma of the wine was very strong, so it was definitely good wine. He could not help but salivate and look forward to it. Once the 10 minutes were up, Bufang opened the lid of the steamer. White steam rose into the sky. The steam was fresh and sweet, refreshing the mind. Because the water in the steamer was taken from the Dragon Lake in the Dragon Spring mountain range, it was said that a 7th-grade flood dragon lived there. The life energy within the water was extremely rich. Bufang carried out the Li's fish and placed it on the table. After being marinated and steamed, the blue skin of the 3rd-grade IC fish had turned pink. The fish skin was as translucent as jade and seemed to be reflecting light. Light pink distiller's grains flowed out from the slit in its belly. The soup made from the distiller's grains was mellow and rich, as if it was a fine wine that had been stored for many years. Due to the steaming, the slit in the slit was bloated and the oil flowed down, sparkling and translucent. Bufang himself gently swallowed his saliva. The rich wine aroma made his face slightly red. He did not let Ouyang Xiaoyi serve this Li's fish because it was a new dish and he wanted to serve it himself. As he walked out of the kitchen, the Li's fish on the plate opened its mouth and emitted a rich wine aroma as he walked. The entire store was surrounded by the fragrance of fine wine. Chapter 23. The wine brewed from this distiller's grains should be good wine. Ji Qingxue's eyes flickered with a strange light as he said in a serious tone. The wine's fragrance was so rich and mellow that it was not too far off from the Imperial Palace's aromatic raging flame wine. When the Li's fish was brought before him, it attracted the attention of everyone in the store. Even the little lowly was like a curious baby as she craned her neck to catch a glimpse of the Li's fish. Even though Ouyang Xiaoyi was already certain that the Li's fish would not taste as good as the fish head tofu soup. How beautiful! Xiao Yinyu could not help but exclaim softly as she gazed at the glowing skin of the 3rd-grade IC fish. Her gaze was immediately attracted by the Li's fish. Due to the fact that it was steamed, the fish skin was firm and elastic. The distiller's grains flowed out of the fish's belly, emitting a rich aroma and steam. When the fish opened its mouth, the dense aroma of wine spurted out, making the entire fish seem as if it was floating in the ocean. "Your Li's fish, please enjoy," Bufang expressionlessly said. Ji Qingxue gently smiled and impatiently picked up his chopsticks. Even though he was anxious, his actions were methodical. He first used his chopsticks to tap the tight skin of the 3rd-grade IC fish, and the rebounding force brought a smile to the corner of his mouth. The fact that the fish skin could be steamed with such elasticity meant that the chef had a good grasp of the heat. Such an effect would not be achieved if the fish was steamed too early or too long. If the fish was steamed too early, the skin would be too hard and the meat would be too coarse. If the fish was steamed too long, the skin would become sticky and the meat would become like mud, making it difficult to eat. The chopsticks exerted some force and immediately broke through the fish skin. A faint fish oil seeped out along with the rich aroma of the fish. Ji Qingxue used his chopsticks to pick up the meat near the gills. The meat here was the most delicious part of the entire fish, as it was the part with the best quality. Most expert fish eaters would choose this part. As soon as the meat entered his mouth, Ji Chengshue's eyes immediately lit up. He did not feel as if he was eating a fish, but rather drinking a glass of fine wine. The rich aroma of the wine surged out from the fish and filled his mouth. However, it was the fresh and tender fish that enveloped his taste buds. The fish had the freshness of fish and a hint of coolness that seeped into one's heart. The warmth and the coolness seemed to form a world of ice and fire. The texture was unexpectedly good. Ji Qingxue narrowed his eyes and enjoyed the taste for a while before nodding his head. An intoxicated look appeared on his face as he continued to pick up a large piece of fish and put it into his mouth. Owner Bu, this fish shouldn't be an ordinary fish, right? That ice-cold feeling is simply the finishing touch, elevating the already delicious fish to a whole new level, Ji Qingxue said as he ate. The others subconsciously swallowed their saliva as they watched him quickly pick up the chopsticks. The little Loli's eyes were glued to the Li's fish, and she felt that it was very delicious. This fish is a third-grade ice sea fish from the northern seas of the Light Wind Empire. The fish is bone-chilling, but after cooking, the coolness has dissipated. Moreover, the warmth of the distiller's grains and the intense heat of the distiller's grains have combined to achieve the effect of ice and fire, Bu Fong simply said. After replying to Ji Qingxue, he turned around and returned to the kitchen. The fish head tofu soup was still simmering, and he could not afford to lose control of the heat. Ji Qingxue also came to a sudden realization. So it was a third-grade ice sea fish. This fish was an extremely rare spirit beast from the sea. Even as a prince, he rarely had the chance to taste this fish. He did not expect to find this kind of fish in an inconspicuous store within the imperial city. Everyone, come have a taste. This fish is really delicious, and the taste of the distiller's grains is also incomparably mellow. It's definitely worth it, Ji Qingxue said with a chuckle as he glanced at the eager crowd. Xiao Xiaolong immediately picked up a piece of fish with his chopsticks and put it into his mouth. Xiao Yinyu, on the other hand, was much more reserved. She waited for Xiao Xiaolong to pick up a piece before gracefully and lightly picking up a piece of fish. Xiao Xiaolong's eyes widened as he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of hot air that was filled with the fragrance of the wine. The taste was beyond his expectations. The coldness of the fish mixed with the intense heat of the distiller's grains created a unique experience. It's delicious. Xiao Xiaolong was intoxicated. The little Loli swallowed a mouthful of saliva and secretly reached out her chopsticks to pick up the fish as well. However, her hand was pushed away by the smiling Ji Qingxue. The latter had an innocent expression as he pointed at the words on the menu. Ouyang Xiaoi was immediately driven mad. Her cultivation level was only a second-grade battlemaster. There were so many delicacies that she could not taste. Xiao Yinyu's image was much better than Xiao Xiaolong's. However, her eyes also lit up as she nodded. Soon, the Li's fish was divided among the crowd. Everyone's face was filled with enjoyment. However, their enjoyment quickly turned into intoxication as Bu Fong came out with the fish head tofu soup. It was a completely different kind of fish from the Li's fish. It allowed the three of them to experience a feast of fish meat once again. Even though there were only 2 dishes, the three of them felt that this was already the pinnacle of fish meat cooking. Ouyang Xiaoi pouted. She felt that there was nothing left to live for. For the first time, she felt that her grandfather's decision to force her to practice martial arts was the right one. If she worked a little harder, she would be able to reach 3rd-grade battle maniac. At that time, she would be able to taste all of these delicious dishes. Thank you for tasting. The total is 50 crystals, Bu Fong expressionlessly said as he announced the price of their meal. After the delicacy came the extreme heartache. 50 crystals. Some low-level rogue cultivators might not even have 50 crystals for a month's worth of cultivation resources. Owner Bu's dishes are really expensive. The corner of Xiao Xiaolong's mouth twitched. But it's worth it, isn't it? Bu Fong expressionlessly said as he glanced at Xiao Xiaolong. Fine, you're the boss. What you say makes the most sense. Xiao Xiaolong did not say anything. He was only grumbling a little. As the son of an empire's general, he could still afford such a small amount of crystals. Xiao Yinyu and the other two left. Before they left, they wanted to take Ouyang Xiaoyi with them, but were stopped by Bufang. Her working hours are not over yet, so she can't leave. Of course, you can let her go home after business hours, Bufang lightly said. Xiao Yinyu and the others looked at Bufang with a strange expression. They did not insist and left one after another. The little lowly was like a frostbitten eggplant. She sat on a stool with a face full of resentment. She supported her chin with both hands as if she was thinking about life. Smelly boss, your dishes are so delicious, but why do you have to set a cultivation level restriction? I can't even eat anything. Do you want me to work hard and cultivate? Ouyang Xiaoyi complained. Good ingredients can be cooked into delicious dishes. The higher the grade of the ingredient, the more abundant the spirit energy and the more delicious the taste. Bufang expressionlessly explained. However, due to the high spirit energy content of high-grade ingredients, those with a low cultivation level would easily explode from the spirit energy. Oof. I'll go back and cultivate properly. One day, I'll definitely eat all of the dishes in your store. Ouyang Xiaoyi stuck out her tongue at Bufang and laughed. Oh, you're welcome to, but you still have to pay for it, Bufang seriously said. Ouyang Xiaoyi. On the way back, Xiao Yinyu thought for a moment and decided to tell General Ouyang about Ouyang Xiaoyi's presence at Fong Fong's little store. General Ouyang did not know whether to laugh or cry when he heard the news. This little girl ran away from home and actually went to work as a waitress at a small store. Eldest brother, second brother, third brother, go to that store and bring your little sister back. If we don't teach this girl a lesson, she'll climb onto the emperor's head and pull his beard. Old General Ouyang, who was sitting on a high seat, had a dignified expression on his face as he spoke to his three brothers, who were as burly as bears. Yes, the three brothers replied in a muffled voice, then turned around and rushed out of the general's manor. It was not a small matter for the three barbarians of Ouyang to move out at the same time. Many people were paying attention to it. However, when they found out that the reason the three barbarians moved out was to pick up their little sister from a small restaurant, they were speechless. This kind of ostentatious fart was indeed in line with the style of the Ouyang family. At that moment, Bufang was still unaware that three humanoid beasts were aggressively heading toward his store. As for him, he was curled up on a chair and basking in the sun. Chapter 24. The three barbarians of Ouyang were the three sons of the current patriarch of the Ouyang family, Ouyang Zongheng. They had the backs of a tiger and the waists of a bear, just like humanoid beasts. Their fighting strength was terrifying, and their brute strength was even more outstanding. In the imperial capital, they had always been regarded as humanoid destruction machines, so they were called the three barbarians of Ouyang. The eldest brother, Ouyang Zhen, the second brother, Ouyang Wu, and the third brother, Ouyang Di, were collectively known as Invincible True. The three of them were triplets, so their appearances were very similar. Their cultivation levels were similar as well, all at the level of 4th grade battle maniac. They had once followed General Ouyang Zongheng on an expedition to kill enemies, so they had all gone through bloody experiences. Although they were known as the three barbarians of Ouyang and didn't give face to anyone in the imperial city, they only obeyed their only sister, Ouyang Xiaoyi. Now that they received the news that their sister, whom they cherished in their hands and feared would fall and melt in their mouths, was actually held hostage by a small restaurant in a remote alley, it was simply intolerable. The three of them were like balloons that had been inflated to the limit, ready to burst at any time. They charged toward the restaurant aggressively. Zhao Rouge and Sun Qixiang, who had been secretly paying attention to the restaurant, were the first to notice the movements of the three barbarians of Ouyang. They could not help but rejoice in their misfortune. Zhao Rouge sneered. He had been looking for an opportunity to destroy the restaurant, but now it seemed that there was no need for him to do so. The reputation of the three barbarians of Ouyang as human-shaped destruction machines was not undeserved. Everywhere they went would definitely be razed to the ground. At that time, All he had to do was to ruthlessly trample on the face of that damned, expressionless boss in front of the restaurant. After walking along the main street of the capital and passing by the Immortal Phoenix restaurant, he would continue forward. After walking for another 10 miles, he would make a left turn and he would find an alleyway. After stepping into the alleyway and walking straight, he would find Bufong's store. Bufong was lying on the chair, basking in the sun. The warm sunlight shone on his body, making him feel warm and sleepy. Ouyang Xiaoi, on the other hand, was sitting at the sideboard. Due to her boredom, she began to cultivate diligently in order to eat Li's fish and fish head tofu soup as soon as possible. The three barbarians of Ouyang stepped into the alleyway. Their auras immediately spread out, stirring up the dust in the surroundings and causing the wind to howl. Dong, dong, dong. The three of them were like savage beasts in human form. Every step they took caused the ground to tremble. Big brother, in front of us is the small restaurant that kidnapped my little sister. Let's go and kill that audacious boss. Ouyang Wu said in a muffled voice as his eyes widened in anger. Ouyang Di's beard puffed up as he patted his chest and roared, "Damn it! How dare they kidnap our precious little sister? If I don't tear down that Blacken today, I will abstain from drinking for 3 days. Let's go. Let's see who exactly is so daring." Ouyang Zhen could be considered the steadiest of the three brothers, but when it came to his little sister, he became a lot more irritable. Thinking about his little sister's cute voice and smile, thinking about how she might be suffering torture that ordinary people couldn't bear, his heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. The large black dog that was lying on the ground suddenly felt the ground shake, and it immediately opened its drowsy eyes. Not far away, 3 huge figures were approaching. It opened its mouth, yawned, and continued to lie on the ground. Bufong was also awakened by the vibration. He looked into the distance in confusion and saw the 3 barbarians of Ouyang standing at the entrance of the restaurant. "Who are you? Are you here to eat?" Bufong said expressionlessly. "Bah, you're a Blacken. Who wants to discuss a meal with you? We are here to look for our little sister." Ouyang Wu's temper was the most explosive, and he immediately roared. Bufong was stunned. Looking for his little sister? Could these 3 brothers who looked like Zhang Fei have come to the wrong place? This is a proper restaurant, not a brothel. What little sister? No. Since they were not here to eat, Bufong could not be bothered and continued to lie on the chair. "Oh, you brat. You still dare to talk nonsense with us? I can feel our little sister's aura. She is in your restaurant. If you don't hand her over, I will raze your little restaurant to the ground." Ouyang Di clenched his fist, and the sound of bones colliding could be heard. He looked at Bufong maliciously. Bufong expressionlessly glanced at the 3 men. He finally figured out who they were looking for. It turned out that they were looking for Ouyang Xiaoi. Bufong stood up and calmly shouted at Ouyang Xiaoi, who was sitting not far away and concentrating on her cultivation. "Hey, little girl, someone is looking for you." After being shouted at by Bufong, Ouyang Xiaoi stopped cultivating. She unhappily glared at Bufong and looked outside the store. Soon, she saw her 3 brothers who looked like monsters in human form. Ouyang Xiaoi's expression changed. She knew in her heart that elder sister Yinyu must have exposed her whereabouts. "Smelly boss, they are my brothers. They want to capture me and bring me home. Help me hold them off," Ouyang Xiaoi muttered. She turned around and ran toward the guest room upstairs, disappearing in an instant. Bufong blinked his eyes and expressionlessly watched Ouyang Xiaoi disappear. His heart was filled with doubt. He once again glanced at the 3 burly men outside. The cute and sweet Ouyang Xiaoi and the rough and ugly 3 barbarians. Were they really born from the same genes? They all had the same father and mother. Why was there such a big difference between them? "She doesn't want to see you," Bufong honestly said. "What? You brat, you still want to stop us from eating? Damn it, how dare you imprison my little sister?" Ouyang Zhen was furious. The image of Ouyang Xiaoi's delicate body being tortured appeared in his mind. How infuriating! Bang! The irascible Ouyang Di took a step forward. Suddenly, a wave of energy burst out and he appeared in front of Bufong like a beast in human form. His ferocious face was almost stuck to Bufong's face. The wave of energy caused Bufong's hair to flutter. Bufong expressionlessly said, "You want to cause trouble? So what if I want to cause trouble? I'm going to tear down your store." Ouyang angrily glared and loudly said, "Xiao Bai, someone is causing trouble," Bufong calmly shouted. "Troublemaker, you will be stripped as an example to others." A mechanical voice rang out, and Xiao Bai's huge body appeared behind Bufong. Its mechanical eyes were flashing. Ouyang narrowed his eyes and grinned. "So there's a helper. Brothers, let's attack together and kill him." Ouyang Wu and Ouyang Zhen appeared behind Ouyang. The aura of the three brothers was surging like a raging wave, constantly crashing into the store. With their aura, a normal store would have already collapsed under the bombardment of their aura. However, Fang's little store was completely unscathed. Interesting, this store does have some tricks up its sleeves. Ouyang Zhen furrowed his brows and scanned the surroundings. Other than a skinny, fair-skinned gigolo and a lump of iron puppet, there was nothing else in the store. Oh, and a big black dog that was sleeping soundly at the entrance. No matter how I look at it, it looks like a normal store. How could a store like this have the guts to kidnap his little sister? Could it be that the owner is hiding something? Or is there an expert from the sex hiding in the store? Ouyang Zhen seriously looked at Bufong and became even more confused. He was only a second-grade battle master, and his level of true energy was even weaker than his little sister's. Just as Ouyang Zhen was pondering, bang, bang, with two loud sounds, two huge figures were sent flying and miserably fell to the ground. Ouyang Zhen was startled. When he looked over, his pupils suddenly constricted. He saw that Ouyang Wu and Ouyang had already been thrown into the walls of the alleyway and were deeply embedded. "Sorry, big brother, this was all an accident." An accident. Ouyang Wu and Ouyang were coughing up dust as they struggled to climb out of the wall. How embarrassing. The three barbarians of Ouyang were actually thrown out like balls. Chapter 25. The three barbarians of Ouyang gathered the true energy within their bodies and solemnly looked at Whitey, who was standing behind Bufong, as if they were facing a great enemy. "Boss, this puppet is so strong. Second brother, and I didn't even know what was going on before we were thrown out." Ouyang eyes widened as he looked at Xiao Bai warily. This puppet seemed very powerful. How can a puppet be so powerful? Could it be a puppet made by experts from the sex? But those bastards from the sex couldn't possibly have a puppet like this. Otherwise, how could they have been destroyed by the Imperial Army so easily? Ouyang Zhen thought. Bufong expressionlessly looked at the three savage beasts in human form. He did not care about what they were thinking at this moment. He indifferently said, "Seeing that you are the brothers of the little girl, I will let you off this time. If there is a next time, you will bear the consequences." "Big brother, this Xiao Bai face is threatening us," Ouyang said in disbelief. In the Imperial City, who would dare to threaten the three barbarians of Ouyang? Even though they were not good-for-nothings, they were even more of a deterrent than a good-for-nothing. Wherever they passed, everyone kept quiet out of fear of attracting their attention. Now, a reckless Xiao Bai face had appeared in a small restaurant in an alleyway, and even threatened them in public. Did the three barbarians of Ouyang look like people who would be easily threatened? The dignity of the three barbarians of Ouyang cannot be violated, Ouyang Zhen said fiercely as he glared at them. The corner of Ouyang's mouth curled up. This was the big brother who led the three barbarians of Ouyang to conquer the Imperial City. Never be afraid. However, Ouyang Zhen's next words almost made Ouyang vomit blood. Ouyang Zhen put away his ferocious face and glanced at Xiao Bai behind Bufong. He said, "Brother, let's make a deal. Hand over our little sister and we'll forget about this." Bufong was expressionless as he said, "You'll have to ask your little sister. She came to my restaurant to eat, but didn't pay, so she has to pay with her body. She wants to be a waiter here for a full 7 days. Today is the first day." What the hell? The three barbarians of Ouyang were stunned. their mouths wide open in disbelief. Ouyang Wu said, "Then it must be because the food here tastes terrible. Otherwise, why wouldn't little sister pay for it? Although I'm a little unruly and fierce, I'm still very principled." These words immediately made Bufang frown. As a chef, it was taboo for others to say that the food he cooked tasted bad, because it was the biggest insult to a chef. Side mission unlocked. Conquer the stomachs of the 3 barbarians of Ouyang. The 3 barbarians of Ouyang have already violated the dignity of the host's noble chef. Please use your invincible culinary skills to thoroughly slap their faces. The system will always be your strongest shield. Mission reward: brewing techniques. The serious and proud voice of the system sounded in his mind, causing Bufang to be stunned. He did not expect to start a side mission just like that, and it was a mission with a reward. "Hey, the 3 of you have never eaten the food in my store. How can you say that it tastes bad?" For the sake of the mission, Bufang asked in a serious tone. The 3 barbarians of Ouyang looked at each other, then at each other. Then Ouyang Zhen curled the corners of his mouth and said, "I said your food tastes bad, so what?" Bufang's expression was ice cold. He was angry. The big black dog, who was lying at the entrance, immediately raised its head. Its eyes glared at Bufang, then turned to look at the 3 barbarians of Ouyang, as if it was sneering. After sneering, it went back to lying on the ground. "Aren't you guys looking for your little sister? Fine, I'll give you guys a chance. Let's make a bet. You guys can enter my store and eat my food. If it tastes bad, you could take the little girl away. If it tastes good, you guys can run home naked," Bufang said coldly. A bet? This Xiao Bai's head must have been caught in the door. If he can't even conquer his little sister, how can he conquer the stomachs of us 3 brothers who taste the same? "Fine, we'll agree to your bet, but you have to keep your word." After all, Xiao Bai likes to go back on his word, Ouyang Zhen said. "Come in. Let's order our food first," Bufang said indifferently. The 3 barbarians of Ouyang looked at each other, then cautiously stared at Xiao Bai. Only then did they enter the store. Once they entered, the 3 of them began to size up their surroundings. Even though the environment is not bad, this store is too small. Ouyang Di twisted his body and said in dissatisfaction. Squeezing their huge bodies into the store was indeed more uncomfortable than squeezing Fatty Jean and his group of fat brothers into the store. However, it was still bearable. "Owner, do you have any wine? Give me a pot first." Ouyang Wu slammed the table and shouted. This guy had already completely immersed himself into the role of a customer. "I'm sorry, we don't provide any wine at the moment," Bufang expressionlessly said. "Why are you opening a restaurant if you don't have any wine? Aren't you just begging for food? Forget it. Let me see if there's anything to eat." Ouyang Wu disdainfully glanced at Bufang and turned his gaze toward the menu on the wall. Then, the air in the store seemed to have stopped flowing and it became extremely quiet. "That Lee's fish is 20 crystals? Isn't the fish head tofu soup also 20 crystals? A bowl of egg-fried rice can also be sold for 10 crystals?" Even though Ouyang Zhen was boorish, he was not stupid. This price was a little scary. A stack of vegetables for 100 gold coins. A bowl of dry mixed noodles for 100 gold coins. Ouyang Wu's mouth was dry. Now I know why my little sister doesn't have the money to pay the bill. It's because this is a scam. Ouyang Di angrily roared as he slammed the table. Bufang frowned. "Are you guys still going to order? The little girl is in my store. If you win the bet, you can naturally bring her back." "Oomph. For my little sister, I'm willing to be scammed. Give me a serving of Lee's fish first." Ouyang Zhen slammed the table and said, "Boss, if you have Lee's here, why don't you have wine?" Ouyang Wu's eyes widened as he asked in dissatisfaction. Bufang expressionlessly said, "The Lees are used to make Lee's fish, not to make wine." Ouyang Wu was a little confused. What was the difference? Could wine be made from Lees alone? "Then give me a serving of Lee's fish as well." Ouyang Wu said, "My store only has 1 Lee's fish left. Please order something else," Bufang lightly said. This is a scam. If it wasn't for my little sister, I would have smashed your store right now." Ouyang Wu, was a little mad as he finally ordered the improved egg fried rice. Ouyang Di did not say anything and ordered a serving of fish head tofu soup. After the three of them finished ordering, Bufang nodded and said, "Please wait a moment." Then, Bufang entered the kitchen and began to prepare the dishes. Zhao Rouge was sitting on a sandalwood chair as he read his subordinate's report. He lightly smiled and said, "You're saying that the three barbarians of Ouyang have already entered the store? It seems like the store is not far from destruction. Even though the three Ouyang brothers are brainless, their cultivation levels are indeed high. It is easy for them to tear down a small store. Call everyone, let's go out and watch the show." Zhao Rouge opened his paper fan and elegantly chuckled as he led his subordinates out of the left minister's manor. Sun Qixiang had already received the report from his subordinates. His sesame-sized eyes narrowed as he sneered, "You dare to mess with me with chili and even made me run around naked in public. I want to see how you're going to continue operating after offending the three barbarians of Ouyang." Besides Zhao Rouge and Sun Qixiang, Xiao Yinyu and the others who received the news all changed their expressions and rushed toward Fong Fong's little store. They all knew how terrifying the three barbarians of Ouyang were. Xiao Yinyu was even more annoyed. She did not expect the old general to directly send the three barbarians of Ouyang. If anything happened to Fong Fong's store, it would be her fault. For a moment, many people were rushing toward Fong Fong's little store. Of course, they all seemed to think that Bufang's store will be destroyed by the three barbarians of Ouyang. Chapter 26. Big Brother. Don't you think that Xiao Bai's face is stupid? He made a bet with us, but it's up to us to decide whether the food tastes good or not. Even if the food he cooks is really good, he can't do anything if we say it doesn't taste good. When the time comes, he still has to hand over little sister. Ouyang Di secretly said to Ouyang Zhen, who had a serious face. Ouyang Zhen glanced sideways at his third brother and snorted. "With our stomachs, the delicacies of the imperial chefs all taste the same in our mouths. How can we possibly tell whether it's delicious or not? Aren't you just farting?" This time, Xiao Bai's face is definitely going to lose. Ouyang Zhen raised his beard and said proudly. Ouyang Wu sighed and said, "Big Brother is indeed the smartest among us three brothers. You can see through everything. It's just that we drank too much and lost our sense of taste. Other than wine, everything we eat now tastes like plain water. It's really uncomfortable." Ouyang Wu sighed. "Second brother, it's okay. When we get little sister back, Big Brother will treat you to the exquisite aroma raging flame wine that His Majesty bestowed to Big Brother. I guarantee that you will experience the feeling of being licked by flames." Ouyang Zhen patted Ouyang Wu's shoulder and said, "Hey, then thank you, Big Brother. With this stomach of mine, only alcohol can feel it." Ouyang Wu grinned. While the three were chatting, Bufang had already started preparing the food in the kitchen. The third stage IC fish needed to be marinated in advance to make the Li's fish, so he only prepared 2 last night. He had already cooked one and planned to have a taste of the other one tonight, but since someone ordered it, he decided to take it out and cook it. After removing the Li's from the body of the rank 3 IC fish, Bufang used the kitchen knife to make 2 cuts on the fish. Finally, he placed it in the steamer to steam. The egg fried rice and fish head tofu soup were also cooked. The aroma of the egg fried rice was very rich. It floated out of the kitchen and wrapped around the 3 barbarians of Ouyang like silk, making their noses twitch. "It smells so good. Looks like this Xiao Bai's face is quite good," Ouyang Di said with a face full of intoxication. The other 2 were silent, but they didn't mind. No matter how strong the fragrance was, it was useless because when it entered their mouths, it would all taste the same. Because the little girl wasn't around, Bufang personally brought out the egg fried rice and placed it on the table, saying, "Whose egg fried rice is yours? Please enjoy." These 3 brothers all looked like Zhang Fei. The slightly face-blind Bufang had already forgotten who they were. "This is mine." Ouyang Wu squinted his eyes and took a deep sniff of the egg fried rice. Immediately, he felt a rich aroma filling his nostrils. To be honest, it was really fragrant. Ouyang Wu couldn't help but start eating. He scooped up a spoonful of egg fried rice. The thread-like egg liquid entered his mouth and instantly solidified. The pearl-like rice grains seemed to be jumping between his mouth and teeth, giving him a different kind of feeling. Gulp. After swallowing the egg fried rice, Ouyang Wu remained expressionless. Although the taste of the egg fried rice was excellent, he couldn't taste it at all. Ouyang Zhen and Ouyang Di also took a spoonful and put it into their mouths. Both of them frowned. What the hell did you cook? There's no taste at all. You call this delicious? Ouyang Zhen curled his lips and threw the spoon on the table with dissatisfaction. Bufang was startled. How is that possible? This improved egg-fried rice wasn't delicious? This was the first time he met such a customer. Even the improved egg-fried rice was unable to conquer them. Bufang smelled the fragrance of the egg-fried rice in the air. It was still as thick as silk, caressing his cheeks. There should be nothing wrong with the taste. Could it be that the three of them have very picky tastes? Bufang pondered. Xiao Bai, you should just admit defeat and hand over our little sister. There's no way you can cook a delicacy that can impress us three brothers, Ouyang Di said with a complacent smile. His full beard seemed as if it was about to twist. This plate of egg-fried rice, the three of them really stopped eating after eating a spoonful. This greatly exceeded Bufang's expectations. Even the big black dog lying at the entrance raised its head. Its eyes were filled with anticipation as it stared at the scene in the store. Please wait a moment. Bufang's expression was incomparably grim. He felt that his culinary skills had been seriously challenged. He returned to the kitchen. The fish head tofu soup was ready to be served. He carefully poured the soup into a large porcelain bowl. The Li's fish still needed a few more minutes, so he carried the fish soup out of the kitchen. Fish head tofu soup, please enjoy, Bufang solemnly said. The fragrance of the fish head tofu soup was not inferior to the egg-fried rice at all. The freshness of the fish and the fragrance of the tofu blended together. It was as if a light gauze was gently caressing one's skin. The milky white fish soup and the jade-like tofu were exuding a hazy luster under the light. It was extremely beautiful. Just the appearance alone was enough to intoxicate the three Ouyang brothers and greatly increase their appetite. However, after they finished the fish soup, their faces were expressionless as if they had just drunk a bowl of plain water. No, your fish soup doesn't taste good, the three Ouyang brothers said in unison as they shook their heads. Interesting. Bufang's face was expressionless, but his heart was extremely solemn. He gave the three brothers a deep look before turning around and returning to the kitchen. He only had one last dish left. If even this dish could not impress them, then it could only mean one thing. There must be something wrong with the taste buds of these three. As a chef, he was very confident in his dishes. Even though the three brothers' performance was beyond his expectations, it was impossible for his confidence in his culinary skills to waver in the slightest. When the Li's fish was taken out from the steamer, a rich wine aroma instantly wafted out and filled the entire store. The three Ouyang brothers who were proudly sitting in the store suddenly stiffened. It was as if their souls had been sucked away. Big brother, what a strong wine aroma. Ouyang Di felt his mouth go dry. His eyes were wide open like copper bells. The moment the wine aroma appeared, he was instantly immersed in it and was unable to extricate himself. Ouyang Wu and Ouyang Zhen also felt the same. They felt as if there were bugs scratching their hearts, making them want to drink. This is definitely the aroma of a fine wine. Only the aromatic raging flame wine from the Imperial Palace can compare to it. This store has this kind of wine. Ouyang Zhen kept swallowing his saliva. He couldn't wait to see the wine. The three of them stared at the entrance of the kitchen and saw a thin figure walk out. Bufang walked out slowly with the Li's fish in his hands with an incomparably serious expression. However, the three pairs of eyes that looked as if they had seen their prey made his heart skip a beat. What the hell? Here's your Li's fish. Please enjoy, Bufang said solemnly as he placed the Li's fish on the table. Why is it Li's fish? It's not wine. The three Ouyang brothers exclaimed in unison. Their voices were filled with disappointment. I've already said that this store doesn't provide wine at the moment, Bufang replied expressionlessly. Xiao Bai, you've lost for sure. Without wine, you won't be able to move us. You'd better obediently hand over our little sister. Ouyang Zhen sighed as he looked at the Li's fish with incomparable disappointment. Give it a try. Bufang was unmoved, and he remained calm. At that moment, Ouyang Xiaoyi, who had already hid in the guest room, suddenly walked out. Her face was filled with worry. It seemed like abandoning the smelly boss like that was a little disloyal. What if the smelly boss was beaten up by the three brothers? Ouyang Xiaoyi knew the temperament of the three barbarians of Ouyang very well, so she felt a little guilty. Smelly boss, you must hold on. You mustn't die. Ouyang Xiaoyi prayed in her heart as she dashed out of the guest room and arrived at the store on the first floor. She sneakily stuck her head out from behind the door to look at the situation in the store. However, with just a glance, her rosy and delicate mouth slightly opened and her big eyes were filled with disbelief. Chapter 27. Ouyang Xiaoyi hid behind the door and peeked into the store. She saw her three barbaric brothers gobbling down a plate of Li's fish. That's right. It was as if a normal person had eaten the egg-fried rice cooked by Bufang. The blissful expression on their faces gave Ouyang Xiaoyi goosebumps on her arms. It was precisely because she understood that Ouyang Xiaoyi was surprised and in disbelief. Even though she admitted that the smelly boss's dishes were delicious, her three brothers had the same taste no matter what they ate. It was impossible for them to be moved, right? Oh, I got it. The smelly boss's Li's fish has a strong aroma of alcohol. The aroma of the alcohol seeped into the fish, causing the taste of the fish and the alcohol to blend together. That's why the brothers were conquered. Their taste buds can only taste wine. Ouyang Xiaoyi's eyes lit up as she analyzed the situation with certainty. As Bufang watched the three of them gobble down the food, a hint of relief finally appeared on his serious face. As expected, there was no one that could not be conquered by delicious food. He had won this bet. Congratulations to the host for completing the side mission. Conquer the stomachs of the three barbarians of Ouyang. The reward will be released later. Young man, you will walk further and further on the path of becoming the god of cooking that stands at the top of the food chain in this fantasy world. Work hard. The system's solemn voice sounded. A stiff smile appeared on Bufang's face. This was the first time the three barbarians of Ouyang tasted delicious food. It was the first time they tasted food that made all the pores on their bodies open. This fish was simply irresistible to them. The fish had a hint of coldness that seeped into their hearts. Mixed within the coldness was the aroma of the alcohol. The coldness and heat resonated with each other and instantly attacked their almost dead taste buds. It was as if a withered tree had been given a new lease of life. They tasted a flavor that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. Why is it gone? You two brats actually dared to snatch it from your big brother. Ouyang Zhen was still intoxicated. His chopsticks grabbed empty air. It turned out that the last piece of fish had already been picked up by Ouyang Di. The fish bones were also scooped up by Ouyang Wu, and he was continuously licking them. Just like that, the fish was completely devoured by them. The three of them stared longingly at the blue and white porcelain plate, their tongues constantly licking their lips and fingers, wanting to recall that wonderful feeling just now. You finished eating? Then I won the bet, right? You have to admit that my dishes are very delicious. Bufang looked at the three people expressionlessly and said calmly and confidently. The bodies of the three barbarians of Ouyang immediately stiffened. They secretly cursed in their hearts. They were so engrossed in eating just now that they forgot that they were making a bet with Bufang. This Li's fish was simply too delicious. It was a delicacy that was tailor-made for them. Ahem. Boss Xiaobai, how should I say this? Although the three of us have finished eating your fish, but TSK, no, your fish is not delicious enough. Ouyang Zhen said while licking his fingers. If it's not delicious enough, why are you licking your fingers with a face full of aftertaste? Bufang complained expressionlessly. Right. Your fish is really bad. Uh, Even though it's not bad, it's not delicious enough. Ouyang Di's eyes rolled around as he straightened his neck and said, Ouyang Xiaoi, who was hiding behind the door, covered her face with her palms. She felt that this was too embarrassing. Only her 3 foolish brothers would lie with their eyes wide open and say such insincere words. That's right. Xiaobai, you've lost. Hurry up and hand over our little sister. Otherwise, the 3 of us will tear down your store. Ouyang Wu fiercely threatened as he slammed his palm on the table. However, when he stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, his fierceness turned into a comical expression. Bufang was expressionless. He already knew in his heart that these 3 idiots were planning to deny the bet after eating the fish. Xiaobai, take off their clothes, leave behind enough crystals, and throw them out, Bufang simply said as he put away the plates on the table and slowly walked toward the kitchen. However, when Bufang turned around and saw Ouyang Xiaoi, who was hiding behind the door, he was slightly startled. Then, he expressionlessly walked past her and entered the kitchen. Ouyang Xiaoi widened her eyes as she looked at the calm Bufang. She was a little confused. Was he not afraid that her 3 brothers would go berserk? If they went berserk, even they themselves would be afraid. However, in the next moment, a scene that completely dumbfounded her occurred in the store. She saw the adorable white puppet with a big belly in Bufang's store throw her 3 brothers out of the store with a slap each. In the instant they were thrown out, the clothes of the 3 brothers were completely taken off, leaving only a pair of underwear. Ah! Ouyang Xiaoi screamed and hurriedly covered her eyes. This was too filthy. This was simply too filthy. So this was what Xiaobai was like. Ouyang Xiaoi was dumbfounded, but the 3 barbarians of Ouyang were even more dumbfounded. A chilly wind brushed past their bodies, causing them to feel a wave of coldness. The 3 brothers gulped as they looked at the iron puppet in terror. What the F***CK? Big brother, this guy is so awesome. We were stripped naked without any ability to retaliate. Ouyang's heart was trembling. In that instant, they felt as if they were facing their grandfather. Their grandfather, old General Ouyang Qi, was a 6th grade battle emperor. Could it be that the iron puppet in this store actually had the strength of a 6th grade battle emperor? This is simply F***King Dog *T. Since when did such a terrifying thing appear in the imperial city? Ouyang Zhen could not help but curse. The big black dog that was lying at the entrance suddenly opened its eyes. Its sharp gaze instantly fell on Ouyang Zhen. F***King Dog *T? Does a dog have a grudge against you? Ouyang Zhen's face turned pale in an instant, completely devoid of blood. He felt an enormous and irresistible pressure pressing down on his body in an instant. His last piece of underwear, which was covering his private parts, also exploded into countless pieces with a tearing sound. Patter! Ouyang Zhen's entire body weakly knelt on the ground as if he had collapsed. His eyes were lifeless. Ouyang Wu and Ouyang Di were immediately startled. They fearfully glanced at the store, pulled up their big brother, and quickly ran away. The enemy was too powerful. They should call for reinforcements. The 3 of them fled in panic, leaving behind a trail of smoke and dust. The big black dog disdainfully glanced at the backs of the 3 people. It stuck out its tongue and licked its smooth and beautiful fur that was not tainted by a single speck of dust. It snorted and continued to sleep. Zhao Rouge and the others, who were squatting outside the alleyway, were looking forward to the 3 barbarians of Ouyang tearing down that despicable store so that they could go in and show off to the expressionless boss. However, after waiting for a long time, they saw 3 naked bodies rushing out of the alleyway in a sorry state. The other 2 were still fine as they still had underwear to cover their private parts. However, what did the man in the middle do to make him lose his underwear? Everyone stared at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. What the F***CK? Even the 3 barbarians of Ouyang were stripped and thrown out? Why is that store so awesome? Isn't it afraid of grandfather Ouyang's wrath? Sun Qixiang's sesame-sized eyes widened as he exclaimed in disbelief. Zhao Rouge furrowed his eyebrows, and a dignified look appeared on his handsome face. Unlike Sun Qixiang, he was thinking more than Sun Qixiang. A small store opened in an alleyway of the imperial city was able to strip the three barbarians of Ouyang and throw them out. Was that puppet really that powerful? Was that store really that simple? No, this store is not simple. Nowadays, the imperial city is in a state of flux, and the experts from the various sects are all hiding. For a store that can defeat the three barbarians of Ouyang to appear at this time is definitely extraordinary. Zhao Rouge took a deep breath and then slowly exhaled. As the son of the minister of the left, he had seen and thought a lot. He no longer dared to underestimate this store. Damn it, I'll let that bastard escape again. No, I must avenge him for making me run around naked. I must make him shut down. Sun Qixiang was so angry that he was blowing his nose and glaring at Zhao Rouge. Zhao Rouge glanced at him and slightly narrowed his eyes. An unfathomable smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The Shao siblings and the third prince, Ji Qingxue, also rushed over and saw the three barbarians of Ouyang running around naked from afar. Looks like we don't need to do anything. Owner Bu is indeed not an ordinary person. Ji Qingxue thoughtfully looked at the backs of the three barbarians of Ouyang with a gentle smile on his face. As a talented woman of the imperial city, Xiao Yinyu's thoughts were naturally much deeper than ordinary people. Her eyebrows slightly furrowed and then smoothed out. They did not choose to go to Fong Fong's little store and turn around to leave. Sun Qixiang and Zhao Rouge also retreated. They were unable to see through the store and did not dare to rashly make a move. Bu Fong washed the dishes and walked into the store. He patted Xiao Bai's body and praised it before closing the door. Today's business hours were over and the store was closed. Smelly boss, I think I should go back and take a look. I'm afraid that Grandpa will get angry and directly send an army to destroy this place. Ouyang Xiaoyi cautiously said as she blinked her big eyes. She thought that the smelly boss was very scary, stripping people's clothes at the slightest disagreement. Bu Fong was slightly startled. Then he nodded and said, "You can go back after business hours are over. However, you still have to come back to work tomorrow. You'll be free once you've worked for 7 days." Ouyang Xiaoyi nodded and carefully walked out of the store. Then, she ran toward the Ouyang Manor. Bu Fong expressionlessly yawned and prepared to return to the kitchen to try out the reward he just received and the golden shumai that he forgot to make yesterday. Chapter 28. Elder Ouyang was very angry. His voice was so loud that almost everyone in the mansion could hear him. He pointed at Ouyang Zongheng and loudly scolded him. His spittle sprayed all over his son's face, and his finger poked Ouyang Zongheng's forehead, causing him to stagger. Night fell. In the pitch-black night sky, 2 crescent moons echoed each other and sprinkled down a veil-like brilliance that was as cold as water. However, Bu Fong did not approve of this method because the addition of pumpkin powder would cause the texture of the flour to be lost. It would not help the taste of the dish at all. Wine was actually a type of delicacy. Just the fragrance of good wine was enough to intoxicate people. Elder Ouyang straightened his face and directly smacked the head of the ostentatious Ouyang Zongheng and said, "What are you looking at? Hurry up and go train. If you can't reach 6th grade Battle Emperor by this year, I'll skin you alive." Finally, he wrapped the shumai skin and opened the mouth. The small and exquisite shumai was ready. The 3 barbarians of Ouyang expressionlessly watched this scene. They simultaneously felt the malice of the world. They were all biological children, so why was there such a huge difference? This winemaking technique seemed to be very impressive. Bu Fong did not understand, but thought it was amazing. 3 days of brewing, 9 days of cycle, and 3 cycles. How much time would that take? The yellow glaze and the golden resplendence. Bu Fong nodded and took out the flame boar spine meat from the freezer. The surface of the meat was actually covered with a layer of faint flames and distinct lines crisscrossed on the meat. Ouyang Zongheng also put on a smile and said, "My dear daughter, don't run away from home in the future. The imperial city is not peaceful right now. After this period, I'll run away with you. This meat is the spine meat of a third-grade flame boar from the wildlands. The meat is rich in spirit energy and is rich in fat without grease. It is a top-notch meat ingredient, the system solemnly and earnestly introduced. However, while he was daydreaming about the ice-hard jade-earned wine, the golden shumai was successfully steamed. Are you a pig? Bastard, look at the 3 good sons you raised. Streaking in the imperial city in public? Why did I raise an unfilial son like you in the first place? Now that you're old, you're still embarrassing me. I, Ouyang Chi, have lost all my face in the imperial capital because of you and your son. Bufong was no stranger to shumai. It was a kind of snack that used hot noodles as the skin, wrapped the stuffing, and steamed it in a steamer. It could be used as breakfast. It was shaped like a pomegranate and was not capped. It was fragrant and delicious, and had the advantages of soup dumplings and pot stickers. In the main hall of the Ouyang residence, the 3 barbarians of Ouyang hung their heads low. They knelt on the ground with their naked bodies, not daring to raise their heads to look at the old man sitting high above. The steamer was also provided by the system. It was made of purple bamboo strips. What he needed to prepare now was the other reward apart from the fish try cooking, the golden shumai. Wine brewing technique. Ice-hard jade, earn wine brewing method. The wine produced will definitely be good wine. Using the 9 distillation method. Use 30 caddies of yeast and 5 stones of spirit spring water. The yeast is made in the 12th month and thawed in the 1st month. The best quality dragon blood sorghum, produced in the northern part of the Light Wind Empire, is brewed once every 3 days and 1 cycle every 9 days. That was why he took a few 3rd-grade thunderstorm pigeon eggs. He only took the egg yolk, removed the egg white, and added it to flour to make the dough skin. This way, the dough skin would have the fragrance of the thunderstorm pigeon eggs and a resplendent golden color. The 3 barbarians of Ouyang hurriedly ran away dejectedly. Before they left, they even winked at their little sister. Just as the atmosphere in the main hall was a little stagnant, a small head popped out from the door and looked inside. It was Ouyang Xiaoi. Bufong used the kitchen knife to pat the pork. Then, with a turn of the knife, he expressionlessly began to cut the meat. He cut the meat extremely quickly. Every cut seemed to be meticulously calculated. The piece of pork was as thin as a cicada's wing. The system has provided the host with the enhanced version of the 9 distillation method. It can speed up the fermentation of yeast and speed up the brewing of wine. 1 cycle every day, and the wine will be ready in 3 days. Slap! Bufong's speed was extremely fast. It only took him about 20 seconds to make a shumai. With 9 shumai in a steamer, Bufong quickly finished making it and placed it on the steamer basket. Are the 3 of you out of your minds? I told you to pick up Xiaoi, not to run around naked. You guys are really embarrassing me. Don't go around shouting that you're the offspring of the Ouyang family. Ouyang Zongheng cursed. Bufong came back to his senses and carefully lifted the purple bamboo steamer out. He slowly opened the lid of the steamer. The Ouyang mansion was located in the center of the imperial city's 2 main streets. It was one of the 2 large mansions directly opposite of the imperial city. The other one was the Shao mansion. The steaming time was 10 minutes. Within these 10 minutes, Bufong received his other reward, the brewing technique. In the kitchen, Bufong calmly took out the flour from the cupboard. This flour was prepared by the system and was of excellent quality. The skin of a shumai did not need to be fermented, so Bufong directly placed the kneaded dough to the side. According to the recipe provided by the system, the cooking method of the golden shumai was slightly different from traditional shumai. Normally, pumpkin powder would be added to the flour for the golden shumai. That way, the steamed shumai would be as dazzling as gold. Below the old man, there was a middle-aged man with long hair and beard. He did not even dare to breathe loudly, and was at a loss as to what to do. The 3 barbarians of Ouyang did not even dare to breathe loudly. When their father and grandfather were in a fit of anger, anything they said would be wrong. Bufong was stunned for a moment, then he nodded his head. If the wine was ready in 3 days, then it was still something to look forward to. Therefore, Bufang's heart was already somewhat restless. The imperial city of the Light Wind Empire was one of the most prosperous cities in the Hidden Dragon continent. At night, the lanterns were still lit, and the city was bustling with noise and excitement. Lanterns were hung on the streets, shining brightly. Next up was the filling of the shumai. There was actually no fixed choice for the filling of a shumai. What the system provided to Bufang was the minced shumai. Hazy water vapor soared into the sky, bringing with it a rich fragrance and sweetness. It was as if it was refreshing. Within the hazy water vapor, a resplendent golden brilliance blossomed. Then, in Bufang's eyes, the brilliance gradually brightened and instantly filled his eyes. When Grandfather Ouyang saw Ouyang Xiaoyi, his expression immediately changed and became extremely gentle and kind. He hurriedly walked toward Xiaoyi and said, "Io, my little sweetheart, you really scared Grandpa. I thought you were kidnapped by bad people. Quick, let Grandpa take a look and see if you're injured. Io, look at you, you've become thinner." When Ouyang Xiaoyi saw this scene, she immediately burst into laughter. She happily grabbed onto Grandfather Ouyang's beard and laughed nonstop. Bufang had long anticipated that the store would be able to provide alcohol. However, the system did not make any movements until now. Now, he actually obtained the winemaking technique as a reward. Ouyang Zongheng felt the gazes of the three, and his expression immediately turned serious. He coldly snorted and said, "What are you looking at? Hurry up and go practice. If you guys can't reach 5th grade Battle King by this year, I will skin you all alive." He did not choose to dice the entire pork. Instead, he sliced half of the pork into slices and the other half into dices. Then he diced the other vegetables that were filled with spirit energy and mixed them with the diced meat. Finally, he wrapped them in the thin pork. "Grandpa, Dad, Xiaoyi is back." Ouyang Xiaoyi jumped out from behind the door with a face full of smiles. As a general of the Light Wind Empire, Ouyang Zongheng was extremely indignant to be poked in the head and scolded by his own father. However, he did not dare to say anything and could only vent his anger on his 3 disappointing sons. Grandfather Ouyang dotingly patted Ouyang Xiaoyi's head. His eyes were filled with love and pity. Streaking on the streets was a huge disgrace. A few days ago, he was still laughing at the son of that sly old fox, Minister Zhua, for streaking. In the end, his sons even formed a group and started streaking. His face was completely lost in front of the officials of the imperial court. Chapter 29. The golden shumai was indeed as if it was made of gold. The rich fragrance of the meat mixed with the refreshing bamboo fragrance directly rushed into Bufang's nostrils, instantly causing him to sink into a sea of fragrance. The glittering and translucent skin of the shumai that was emitting a golden brilliance seemed to be on fire. There seemed to be flames spurting out from it, but when he took a closer look, he realized that the flames had disappeared. The 9 golden shumai were placed in the purple bamboo steamer basket. They were as beautiful as 9 handicrafts, without the slightest flaw. That was because the filling of the shumai was first wrapped with a thin layer of pork skin. After being steamed, the thin pork skin and the shumai skin were deeply embedded together. The filling was a mixture of diced meat and spirit vegetables, giving off an incomparably rich fragrance. The moisture of the vegetables mixed with the fat of the flaming boar formed a rich broth that rippled within the shumai. Bufang looked at the golden shumai and could not wait any longer. His appetite was aroused by the rich fragrance of the meat. He used the purple bamboo chopsticks provided by the system to pick up a shumai. He did not immediately put it into his mouth. Instead, he first drank a mouthful of the rippling broth. This broth was a mixture of the spirit vegetables, the flaming boar, and the purple bamboo fragrance. It carried a faint golden color. When it entered his mouth, it instantly enveloped his taste buds and spread the rich fragrance throughout his mouth. Bufang was in a very good mood. After drinking the broth, he gently took a bite of the shumai. The skin of the shumai was very tender. Because it was mixed with the egg of the thunderstorm pigeon, it carried a slight numbing sensation. It was not very strong, but when combined with the slight burning sensation of the flaming boar, it brought about a different texture. It was so delicious that Bufang almost swallowed his own tongue. In a short while, a basket of 9 golden shumai had all entered Bufang's stomach. Bufang licked his lips as he reminisced about the taste. Delicious food would always make people feel happy. After packing his things, Bufang began to prepare to brew the Ice Heart Jade urn wine. The distiller's yeast was prepared by the system and had already completed the steps of brewing in the 12th month and thawing in the 1st month. Bufang could directly use it. After placing a jar that was half the height of a person into the environment simulation cupboard specially created by the system, he was done. He only needed 3 days to brew the first portion of Ice Heart Jade urn wine. Actually, Bufang was looking forward to this fine wine. When he was done, it was already late at night. Bufang yawned and prepared to sleep. A good chef must have high-quality sleep. Only by sleeping early and waking up early could he have a healthy body. The next morning, Bufang opened the door of the restaurant. The weather today wasn't very good. Dark clouds covered the sky, and there wasn't any warm sunshine. "It looks like it's going to rain," Bufang muttered as he stood at the entrance of the restaurant and raised his head to look at the sky. Blackie raised its head and glanced at him before continuing to lie on the ground. It was so lazy that it didn't want to move at all. It seemed like it was going to rain, and it was too lazy to enter the store to take shelter from the rain. Bufang was also curious. This big black dog lived like a pig every day. Why didn't it gain any flesh? Even a pig that was raised like this would have already gained a lot of flesh. Yet this dog still maintained its slim figure. "Blackie, I'll improve your diet today," Bufang said as he stroked Blackie's smooth and untainted fur. Then, Bufang returned to the kitchen and began to practice his culinary skills. He prepared the golden shumai and used the remaining fillings to stir-fry a portion of fragrant flaming pork stir-fried vegetables. When Bufang walked out of the kitchen with the dish that emitted a rich aroma, the eyes of the black dog lying on the ground immediately emitted a rich light as it stared fixedly at the porcelain plate in Bufang's hands. Meat! There was meat! The big black dog stretched out its tongue impatiently. A smile appeared on Bufang's stiff face as he watched Blackie eagerly gobble down the food from the porcelain bowl. He pulled a chair and curled up at the entrance of the store. There was no warm sunlight today, so Bufang sat there in a daze. Not long after, Fatty Jean arrived with a group of fatties. The moment they entered the store, they saw the new dish on the menu, the golden shumai. "Oh my, Owner Boo, is there a new dish? Shumai? Is this breakfast?" Fatty Jin's eyes lit up as he asked Bufang. "Yes." Bufang expressionlessly nodded his head. He stood up and prepared to start his activity. The arrival of Fatty Jean meant that his busy day was about to begin. When Fatty Jean and the others saw the golden shumai that had just come out of the steamer, they were all stunned. The rich aroma of the meat made them want to give it a taste immediately. Without a doubt, the products of Bufang were definitely the best. Fatty Jin's mouth was covered in grease as he ate. The other fatties who had not reached 3rd grade Battle Maniac could only stare at Fatty Jean with drool dripping from their mouths. Owner Boo's culinary skills are truly unparalleled. This golden shumai is simply too delicious. It suits my appetite too much. Huh. After Fatty Jean finished his basket of shumai, he wanted to order another portion, but was mercilessly rejected by Bufang. A basket of golden shumai was worth 10 crystals. For Fatty Jean, who was not lacking in money, it was nothing. However, the quantity was too little, and it made Fatty Jean feel uncomfortable. How could 9 shumai fill his stomach? Therefore, Fatty Jean ordered a few more. After a long while, Fatty Jean and the others left Fong Fong's little store in satisfaction. To be able to enjoy this delicacy once a day, it was an indescribable happiness. After Fatty Jean and the others left, a petite figure slowly arrived and rubbed her hazy eyes. "Smelly boss, I'm not late, right?" Ouyang Xiaoyi said while yawning. Rumble. Just as Ouyang Xiaoyi entered the store, it began to drizzle outside. The raindrops that constantly fell formed a curtain in the sky, covering the sky and the earth. "No, you're late," Bu Fong seriously said. Ouyang Xiaoi immediately rolled her eyes, stuck out her tongue at Bu Fong, and made a face. "Smelly boss, I brought enough money today. I want to eat breakfast." Ouyang Xiaoi proudly said as she took out a sachet and waved it in front of Bu Fong. The sound of crystals colliding could be heard coming from within. Bu Fong expressionlessly glanced at the sachet. There was a smiley pig's head painted on the sachet. It was indeed the style of the little girl. "Oh, there's a new dish today. Unfortunately, your cultivation level is not high enough. Otherwise, you could try it," Bu Fong simply said. The smile on Ouyang Xiaoi's face immediately froze. She felt as if an invisible arrow had suddenly shot into her heart. "It hurts. For the sake of eating, I'll definitely work hard in my cultivation," Ouyang Xiaoi solemnly vowed with a pout. "Oh, then your grandfather must be very pleased," Bu Fong expressionlessly said. "Pleased? Please my ass." If the old man of Ouyang knew that the little girl was working hard in her cultivation just to eat a good meal, he might vomit a few liters of blood. Just as the two of them were bickering, a figure slowly walked out from the curtain of rain. He was holding an oil paper umbrella and wearing a white robe. He was gentle and elegant with a smile on his face, making people feel as if they were bathing in a spring breeze. The third prince slowly stepped into Fong Fong's little store. He closed the oil paper umbrella, shook off the rain on it, and leaned the umbrella against the door to prevent the rainwater from entering the store. Bu Fong strangely looked at the third prince. The third prince seemed to have a different temperament today. Even though he was still gentle and elegant, there was a bone-chilling coldness within his elegance. Ji Qingxue stepped into Fong Fong's little store and actually did not greet Bu Fong. Instead, he found a seat and sat down. Ouyang Xiaoi and Bu Fong were puzzled. After a while, the sound of messy footsteps came from the alleyway, along with the sound of rainwater hitting the bamboo hats. Not far away, for figures were slowly walking toward Fong Fong's little store from the entrance of the alleyway. The rain was getting heavier and the water splashed on the ground. The misty rain made the entire world seem unreal at that moment. Vaguely, the drifting rain seemed to have suddenly become silent. As the four figures stepped into Fong Fong's little store, a gust of rain and coldness immediately rushed in, instantly washing away the warm atmosphere within the store and replacing it with a chilling atmosphere. Ouyang Xiaoi shivered and shrunk in the direction of Bu Fong as she looked at the strange four people with her big eyes. The four of them found a seat and sat down. They did not talk to Bu Fong either. Their positions vaguely blocked Ji Qingxue's figure. The rainwater on the bamboo hats dripped on the ground and suddenly broke into pieces. It was like a sudden clap of thunder in the quiet store. Then, four rays of cold light suddenly bloomed. Like a short-lived epiphyllum, they were blindingly white as they shot toward Ji Qingxue. Chapter 30. The rain shattered and the sword flashed. Under the bamboo hat, a killing intent as cold as an iceberg suddenly swept out. Four sword flashes flickered with a clanging sound, reflecting the cold glint of the blades within the store as they pierced toward the refined and gentle third prince from all angles. The cries of the swords reverberated in the store's small space, unceasingly assaulting one's eardrums. The moment the sword flashes appeared, Bu Fong grabbed Ouyang Xiaoi's petite figure and pulled her behind him to prevent her from being drawn into the killing array filled with killing intent. Assassination. This was an assassination aimed at Ji Qingxue. Ji Qingxue seemed to have expected this. He sat quietly on the chair, his expression as calm as still water, without a single ripple. Just as the four assassins approached him, Ji Qingxue's long hair began to flutter. His gentle and refined eyes underwent a huge change in that instant. His gaze changed from a refined one to a demonic one, as if an endless sea of corpses and corpses was churning within it. Dispatching 4 fifth-grade battle kings to assassinate this prince is truly a grand move. Ji Qingxue sneered. Surging true energy surged out from his body and transformed into a wave of energy that charged toward the four murderous assassins. However, the assassins remained unmoved. Their swords were still aimed at Ji Qingshue's heart. They were professionals and focused on killing with a single strike. They would not waver in the slightest because of Ji Qingshue's actions. Ji Qingxue slammed his palm onto the table and instantly released the true energy of a battle king. It burst forth with a wave of energy and caused his entire body to soar into the sky. Ji Qingshue's pupils slightly constricted as he stared at the table that he had slammed with all his might. This table was able to withstand his true energy, yet it was still intact. A clanging sound rang out. The tips of the four assassins' swords collided with each other, creating a crisp sound. The sword energy dispersed in all directions and charged toward the store. However, the sword energy of the four battle kings did not cause the slightest bit of damage to the store, as if it was dispersed by an invisible force. Ji Qingshue's figure floated in the air. The tip of his sword fell down and coincidentally landed on the tip of the four assassin swords. His white robe fluttered and his long hair fluttered. The five of them had come to a strange standstill, but the surging Jinqi around them was a clear indication of the danger they were in. The atmosphere in the store was filled with coldness because of the killing intent, which made Bufang very dissatisfied. The store was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. The only sound that could be heard was the hissing of the collisions of the five's true energies. If you want to fight, please leave the store. Otherwise, you will be regarded as a troublemaker. A voice that was as calm as water suddenly rang out. It was so calm that there was not the slightest ripple. This voice was like a clap of thunder exploding in everyone's hearts amidst the solemn atmosphere, causing everyone to be stunned. The little lowly Ouyang Xiaoyi looked at Bufang, who was slowly walking toward the five people, as if she was looking at a monster. That's right. At this moment of mutual hostility, Bufang expressionlessly opened his mouth and voiced out his displeasure. How was he going to do his business if they were killing each other in the store? The four assassins were originally completely focused on Ji Qingxue. However, after being interrupted by Bufang, they became a little disorderly. Even though Ji Qingxue was also feeling strange, he took advantage of this opportunity. With a light whistle, he abruptly tapped the tip of the four assassins' swords with the tip of his foot. True energy burst forth and knocked away the four assassins' swords. His figure floated to the ground, and he rapidly struck out with his palm. Each strike landed on the four assassins' chests and forced them to take a few steps back. "Are you courting death?" One of the assassins coldly looked at Bufang and said in a hoarse voice. His voice sounded as if it had been rubbed against gravel. In his eyes, this Bufang was merely an ant whose cultivation was only at the level of second-grade battlemaster. He could easily split him into two with a wave of sword energy. An ant-like fellow actually dared to stand out and disturb their assassination. "I'm the owner of this store. Did you ask for my permission before carrying out an assassination here?" Bufang expressionlessly said. What a joke. That assassin shook his head and could not be bothered with Bufang. An ant-like fellow could not affect the outcome of the battle at all. Their target was Ji Qingxue, the third prince of the Light Wind Empire. Ji Qingshue's cultivation was also at the level of a fifth-grade battle king. They did not dare to let their guard down. Even though they had four battle kings on their side, their opponent was still a prince after all. How could they not have a trump card? I've said it before, fighting is not allowed in Fong Fong's little store. If you continue to fight, I will treat you as troublemakers. Bufang coldly said. He realized that those fellows were actually looking down on him. It was simply unforgivable. He was the owner of Fong Fong's little store, the god of cooking who wanted to stand at the top of the food chain in the fantasy world. How could he be ignored? Noisy, go to hell. One of the assassins' eyes suddenly turned cold under his bamboo hat. He roared and took a step forward. His sword flashed with a cold glint as it rapidly stabbed toward Bufang. Bufang was shrouded by a wave of killing intent. He felt as if his entire body had fallen into an ice cave. His blood almost stopped flowing, and he could not even move his limbs. This was the pressure brought about by a fifth-grade Battle King. It was not something that the current Bufong could withstand. His cultivation level was still too weak. Ji Chengshue's expression changed, and he angrily shouted, "How dare you!" He wanted to save Bufong, but he was blocked by the other three assassins and could not do anything. Ouyang Xiaoyi had long been frightened by the bone-piercing, killing intent of the Battle King. Her eyes were filled with fear, and she was unable to make a move. Of course, even if she were to make a move, she would not be of any help to Bufong. Just like that, Bufong seemed to have fallen into a strange situation of certain death. At least, everyone in the store thought that Bufong would definitely die. A second-grade battle master actually dared to provoke a fifth-grade Battle King. To say that Bufong was reckless would be a compliment. Ji Qingxue and Ouyang Xiaoyi could only watch helplessly as Bufong was completely torn apart by the assassin's sword. Bufong was very calm. Even though the cold, killing intent seemed to have frozen all the blood in his body, there was not a single trace of fear on his expressionless face. That gaze was as if he was looking at a hooligan who was causing trouble in the store. This ant is quite good at pretending. The sword was about to reach him, yet he did not fall to the ground and pee his pants in fear. The assassin was somewhat astonished. Suddenly, a huge figure blocked the path of the assassin's sword, blocking his gaze that was locked onto Bufong's body. This immediately startled the assassin. "Xiaobai!" Ouyang Xiaoyi's eyes instantly lit up, and she screamed excitedly. The assassin looked as if he had seen a ghost. He saw a huge white lump of metal blocking in front of the ant, grabbing the sword that he had thrust out. He tried to pull out his sword, but it did not budge an inch. Bufong raised his hand, patted Xiao Bai's wide belly, and calmly said, "Throw these troublemakers out. Oh, first beat them half to death, then strip them and throw them out." "I really hate him," Bufong added. Xiao Bai's mechanical eyes immediately flickered with a red glow, and a mechanical voice rang out. "Troublemakers will be stripped as an example to others." Boom! A huge and terrifying force rushed out from Xiao Bai's body. The assassin's bamboo hat was suddenly shattered, revealing a round, bald head. His eyes widened, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This assassin was directly punched in the abdomen by Xiao Bai. The true energy of a fifth-grade Battle King was directly dispersed by this punch. Xiao Bai grabbed the assassin's head and lifted him up from the ground. The assassin's eyes were somewhat unfocused as he looked at Xiao Bai. Bang! Xiao Bai once again punched the assassin's body. The assassin was immediately stunned and fell limply onto the ground. His breath was very weak. Chapter 31. The scene was eerily silent. Ji Qingxue exclaimed in surprise as he looked at the adorable and honest Xiao Bai. The toughness of this metallic lump of a puppet was beyond his expectations. A Battle King, which even he would have trouble dealing with, was stripped naked by Xiao Bai with a single slap and thrown out of the store. Bufong's calmness was also beyond Ji Chengshue's expectations. His expression did not change, even when the sword was about to pierce his body. Could it be that he had that much confidence in that puppet? The remaining three assassins also regained their senses at this moment. They looked at the puppet Xiao Bai as if they were facing a great enemy. They no longer dared to look down on Bufong, not because of anything else, but because of the puppet that was able to beat their companion into a half-dead state with just 2 punches. The information was wrong. This store is extraordinary. The three assassins looked at each other. Their gazes under the bamboo hats were extremely grave. Without a doubt, their assassination this time had failed. As assassins, they had to retreat and look for another opportunity after failing their first attack. Therefore, they gave up on assassinating Ji Chengshuo and turned around to run toward the store's entrance. However, how could the three of them, who had already been locked onto by Xiao Bai, escape? The three of them were restrained by a huge force and were then pulled back one after another, falling in front of Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai's mechanical eyes flickered with light as he consecutively slapped out 3 palms, causing the three of them to spit out blood and lie on the ground. The bamboo hats on their heads were all shattered, and they lost the ability to resist. Rip! A crisp sound rang out. Then, the three assassins were stripped naked and thrown out just like the first assassin. They fell into the alleyway with only a pair of underwear on them. It was raining cats and dogs outside. Raindrops fell from the sky and rapidly connected to form a curtain in the sky. The world was covered in a hazy mist. After finishing everything, Xiao mechanically swung his arm. Then, his mechanical eyes flickered as he returned to the kitchen in a rather joyful manner. The coldness in Ji Chengshue's eyes gradually disappeared, and he once again regained his graceful and scholarly demeanor. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile as he thoughtfully looked at Bufang. He suddenly realized that he could no longer see through this chef of the store who was only a second-grade battlemaster. "What do you want to eat?" Bufang ignored Ji Chengshue's gaze and asked expressionlessly. "Give me a serving of Li's fish. Today, thanks to Owner Boo's help, I feel very happy. I originally wanted to drink wine, but there's no wine in the store, so I can only give you a serving of Li's fish." The third prince, Ji Qingxue, chuckled and nodded at Bufang. If Xiao Bai did not make a move, then he would really be in great danger today. Even he did not expect that they would actually be so deranged as to directly attack him in the capital. There will be fine wine on sale in a few days, but there is no wine available today, Bufang said faintly as he walked towards the kitchen. At the same time, he patted Ouyang Xiaoi, who was still dumbfounded. "Oh, do you have wine?" Ji Qingshue's eyes lit up. Then, the smile on his face became even wider as he deeply gazed at the thin figure of Bufang as he walked into the kitchen. "Xiaoi, I'm going out for a while. Remember to save the Li's fish for me when it's ready." Ji Qingxue, who was dressed in a white robe, slowly walked out of the door and softly said to Ouyang Xiaoi, who was still in a daze, "Oh, why are you going out?" Ouyang Xiaoi blankly asked. However, Ji Qingxue did not answer her and stepped over the threshold of the store. Outside and inside the store, the expression on Ji Qingxue's face suddenly changed. His gentle and refined smile disappeared and was replaced by a killing intent that made people feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave. He held up an umbrella to block the curtain of rain falling from the sky. The rainwater splashed onto his boots and soaked his clothes. In the alleyway that was washed by the rain, the four assassins stood up with difficulty. The hazy rain was so strong that they could barely open their eyes. In a blur, they seemed to see a refined figure holding an oil paper umbrella. Then their line of sight suddenly froze and their eyes widened. Ji Qingxue turned around and returned to the store. Stepping into the store that had once again become warm, he let out a light breath and rubbed his hands to dispel some of the cold air on his body. He shook off the rainwater on his white robe, and his face once again regained its gentle and refined smile. "Xiaoi, is the Li's fish ready?" Ouyang Xiaoi blinked her big eyes and said, "Not yet, but I can already smell the fragrance of the wine. It should be ready soon." Ji Qingxue nodded and sat back down on the chair. Traces of bright red rainwater were dripping down from the bottom of his white robe. Ouyang Xiaoi stared at the rainwater for a long time without saying a word. Ji Qingxue did not say anything either. Instead, he closed his eyes and rested, as if he was thinking about something. Not long after, the rich fragrance of the wine wafted out from the kitchen and lingered in the store, washing away the remaining killing intent. Ouyang Xiaoi staggered over with a plate of Li's fish in her arms. As she walked, the fragrance wafted through the air. She used a handkerchief to block her nose and forced herself to not smell the fragrance. She stared at the plate of Li's fish and placed it in front of Ji Qingxue. "Your Highness, big brother, your fish," Ouyang Xiaoi said in a muffled voice. "Haha, it's finally ready. I was really craving it." This Li's fish, in the entire empire, I only admire the culinary skills of Owner Bu. Ji Qingxue chuckled and patted Ouyang Xiaoi's head. Bufang also walked out from the kitchen. He carried the silk-like fragrant egg fried rice and sat down in front of Ji Qingxue. He pointed at the egg-fried rice on the table and said to the little girl, "Here, your breakfast." Ouyang Xiaoyi's heart, which was still in a state of shock from the assassination attempt, immediately calmed down. Her eyes lit up, and she sat down on the chair and started wolfing down the egg-fried rice. Ji Qingshua's image of eating was very elegant. It could be seen that he was a cultured person. "Owner Bu, are you really not interested in entering the palace and becoming the emperor's imperial chef? With your culinary skills, you can definitely become the head chef of the imperial kitchen." Ji Qingxue tried to persuade him again. "I don't want to become anyone's chef. If the emperor wants to eat the dishes I cook, you can ask him to line up personally," Bufang calmly said. He said it as if it was a matter of course and not in a pretentious manner. With Owner Bu's culinary skills, it is a waste of his talent to stay in this alleyway. If you can enter the imperial kitchen, you will definitely shine brightly, Ji Qingxue sighed. "Who says that I can't shine brightly in this alleyway? I believe that in the near future, this place will be crowded with people," Bufang said in a serious and confident manner. Bufang's reply slightly startled Ji Qingxue. He subconsciously said, "That's impossible. Your dishes are so expensive that ordinary people can't afford them." "No, it's not that they can't afford them. It's that they can't. You should know how precious my dishes are," Bufang calmly said. Whether it was the ordinary egg-fried rice or the improved egg-fried rice, or the Lee's fish or the fish head tofu soup, the ingredients used were all precious spirit beasts or spirit herbs that were filled with spirit energy. Spirit beasts were already rare and difficult to capture. It was even more unbelievable to use them to make delicacies. Spirit herbs were also hard to come by and were usually used to refine pills. Bufang's delicacies retained most of the spirit energy from the ingredients. After eating them, it was like eating pills that could aid one's cultivation. This was the reason why his dishes were so precious, and it was also the reason why Ji Qingxue and the others had always overlooked it. Bufang felt that it was necessary for him to remind this stubborn child. Ji Qingxue's chopsticks suddenly stopped moving. His pupils slightly constricted, and he felt as if his heart had been struck by a huge rock. He was extremely shocked. That's right, because his cultivation level had already reached 5th grade Battle King. The amount of spirit energy required for him to break through was extremely large. The delicacies he ate at Bufang's place were unable to help him break through the bottleneck. The main reason why he came here every day was because of the delicacies. However, after being reminded by Bufang, he came to a realization. The delicacies did not increase his cultivation level by much, but for the other 3rd grade battle maniacs and 4th grade battle spirits, the increase would be extraordinary. Also, I have to remind you that there will be more and more delicacies in the store in the future, and the ingredients used will also be more and more powerful. Bufang patiently guided him. Perhaps there might even be 9th grade Saint Beast meat. Chapter 32. 9th grade Holy Beast meat. Ji Qingxue looked at Bufang, whose face was filled with mysteriousness, and the corner of his mouth twitched. If it wasn't for the fact that today's events had changed his opinion of Bufang, Ji Qingxue would have categorized him as a retard just based on his words. What was a 9th grade holy beast? In the entire Light Wind Empire, the strongest known person was the Empire's #1 general, Xiao Meng, who was a 7th grade battle saint. However, even someone as strong as Xiao Meng, who made the experts of his sex around the Light Wind Empire tremble in fear, was only a 7th grade battle saint. You're just the owner of a small store in a small alley of the Imperial City, a mere 2nd grade battle master. Yet you keep talking about 9th grade holy beast meat. Ji Qingxue had no idea how strong a 9th grade holy beast was, but he could compare it to General Xiao Meng. A 9th grade holy beast was at least comparable to dozens of General Xiao Meng, right? A single General Xiao Meng could suppress hundreds of experts from his sex, so dozens of General Xiao Meng could destroy the Imperial City with a wave of their hands. Owner Bu, you really like to joke. The Hidden Dragon Continent is vast and boundless, and I've been to many places, but I've never heard of any news about ninth-grade holy beasts. Ji Qingxue finished eating the Li's fish and lightly smiled. Bufang declined to comment. It was obvious that the other party didn't believe him, but it made sense. Ninth-grade holy beasts were too frightening. Actually, the higher the grade of the spirit beast, the better its meat quality. They are equivalent to natural top-grade ingredients, so if you have good ingredients, you can bring them to my store. I can cook them for you. Bufang seriously said. The system had already been upgraded to 2 stars, and the function of bringing your own ingredients was unlocked, so Bufang could remind him. Oh, bring your own ingredients? That's interesting. Ji Qingxue's eyes lit up as he nodded. Outside the store, the rain gradually stopped, and the dark clouds slowly dispersed, projecting rays of warm sunlight after the rain. Ji Qingxue stood up, took out 20 crystals from his sachet, and handed them over to Bufang. Then, he patted the head of Ouyang Xiaoi, who was still gobbling down her egg-fried rice. With a gentle smile, he flapped his white robe and left the store with the oil paper umbrella. In the alley after the rain, there was a puddle of water on the bluestone slabs. The green moss seemed to be stretching its body. On the stone wall that had yet to dry, raindrops slowly dripped down. The large black dog lay at the entrance of the store and yawned. Its eyes were extremely drowsy. After the rain, the fur on its body was still smooth and glossy, without a single trace of water. In the majestic palace of the imperial city, rows upon rows of orderly buildings stood erect. Groups of armored guards with solemn expressions patrolled the area. The cultivation levels of these guards were not weak. The weakest among them was a 3rd-grade battle maniac, and the commander of the patrolling troops was a 5th-grade battle king. Ji Qingxue returned to the imperial palace. Dressed in a white robe, he was handsome and refined. When the commander of the patrolling troops saw him, he respectfully bowed, and Ji Qingxue indifferently nodded. After passing through the entrance of the imperial palace, there was the vast gate of Heavenly Mystery Plaza. There were 6 majestic and magnificent stone pillars erected on the plaza, all of which were engraved with strange beasts and rare treasures. Ji Qingxue stood in front of the gate of Heavenly Mystery and looked at the vast plaza with a complicated expression. He took a deep breath. The air in the plaza was extremely fresh after the rain. Behind the gate of Heavenly Mystery was the Crown Prince's palace. After passing through the gate of Heavenly Mystery and walking several dozen miles to the left of the main hall of the Imperial Palace was the Crown Prince's palace. It was built with golden bricks and red tiles, and it was also extremely grand and luxurious. Your Highness, according to the report from our informants, the 3rd prince was assassinated in a small restaurant within the imperial city. A middle-aged man with a long and beautiful beard, wearing a green robe, looked at the letter in his hand and said to a young man sitting cross-legged at the top of the hall of the Crown Prince's palace. The young man was wearing a golden robe and a purple gold crown. His face was fair and clean, and he had long and narrow eyebrows. The corners of his eyes were slightly raised like sharp blades, giving off a demonic and dignified aura. "Oh, is he dead?" the man lightly said. The first thing he said was that he was concerned about Ji Qingxue's life and death. "No, the 3rd prince has been leading troops on expeditions against sects beyond the Great Wall all year round and has rich combat experience. How could a mere assassin kill him?" The elegant middle-aged man stroked his beard and smiled. "Those who dare to assassinate 3rd brother are at least 5th-grade battle kings. It's impossible for 3rd brother to come out unscathed. If 3rd brother was injured, the news would have already spread throughout the capital. Father would also know about it, and it wouldn't be as peaceful as it is now." The Crown Prince opened his jet black and deep eyes. "It's strange that the 3rd prince is indeed unscathed. Could it be that an expert made a move?" The middle-aged man muttered to himself. "Sure, hasn't 3rd brother been going to that small restaurant in the alleyway for the past few days? Is there anything unusual about that restaurant? Have you sent someone to investigate?" The Crown Prince asked. "Your Highness, that restaurant is a little strange," The middle-aged man called Shusher said with a puzzled expression. How strange. It's the black-hearted restaurant that is widely known in the Imperial City. A bowl of egg-fried rice costs up to 10 crystals, and a bowl of dry mixed noodles costs up to 100 gold coins. The most expensive dish is the Lee's fish, which costs 20 crystals. It's truly a sky-high price. Shusher had a strange expression on his face. It really is a sky-high price. Third brother actually fell in love with such a black-hearted restaurant? It seems like that restaurant definitely has some other unknown characteristics. Shusher, find an opportunity to pay that restaurant a visit. The corners of the Crown Prince's mouth curled up as he spoke with great interest. In another 2 days, it will be the day that Great General Xiao Meng triumphantly returns to the capital. Great General Xiao Meng's cultivation level is astonishing. He wiped out the Death Soul Palace of the Devil Sect in one fell swoop and captured 6 palace masters of the Death Soul Palace alive, greatly dampening the morale of the sect. It is truly the fortune of the Light Breeze Empire. The Crown Prince stood up and slowly paced around as he sighed. If I want to stabilize my position as the Crown Prince, or even ascend to the throne, I cannot do without the support of Great General Xiao. Your Highness, the sects have been on the rise in recent years. Since His Majesty sent Great General Xiao on a punitive expedition against the sects, I'm afraid Xiao Meng has already become a thorn in the eyes of the experts of the sections. This time, when he escorts the 6 palace masters of the Death Soul Palace into the capital, he will definitely be obstructed by the experts of the sections. The Imperial City has been turbulent recently. According to the scouts, many experts from the 5 righteous sects and 3 evil sects have already infiltrated the Imperial City, Shusher said with a frown. Turbulent? It's better if it's a little chaotic. Only when the water is chaotic can one fish. Some things are easier to implement when it's more chaotic. Isn't my second brother also thinking the same thing? Otherwise, why would he send assassins to assassinate my third brother? However, I'm afraid that even my second brother didn't expect that my third brother would come back unscathed. The Crown Prince chuckled as he placed his hands behind his back and looked into the distance. Shusher's heart trembled, and he did not say anything else. He was only a strategist. When it was time to speak, he would speak. When it was not time to speak, he would not speak. All right, I know about my third brother's matter. Third brother is nothing to worry about. The one I'm concerned about is my second brother. However, there's indeed something fishy about this assassination. You should send someone. Oh no, you should personally pay that black-hearted store a visit. That store is indeed quite interesting, the Crown Prince said. Shusher nodded his head, cupped his hands, and left. King Yu's manor. The second prince, Ji Qingyu, burned the letter in his hand with an expressionless face. A mere restaurant dares to obstruct my plans? Looks like I'll have to pay that restaurant a visit. I'd like to see what kind of person is hiding inside to actually dare to kill 4 Battle King assassins under me, King Yu coldly said. 2 hours after the third prince, Ji Qingxue, was assassinated, all the high-ranking officials in the Imperial City received the news. Whether it was the Xiao Mansion or the Ouyang Mansion, they were all shocked by the news. The assassination of a prince was no small matter. Of course, apart from the prince being assassinated, the name Fong Fong's Little Store also entered the eyes of these high-ranking officials and dignitaries. Many of them were extremely curious about the store that sold a bowl of egg-fried rice for 10 crystals. As a result, all the major forces sent their people to pay a visit to the store. At this moment, the owner of the store was leisurely curled up on a chair. The warm sunlight after the rain enveloped his body, causing him to uncontrollably yawn in contentment. However, he was probably unaware that a large wave of high-ranking officials and dignitaries from the Imperial City was approaching. Chapter 33. Welcome to Fong Fong's Little Store. The menu is behind the wall. Let me know what you would like to order. When Shusher stepped into Fong Fong's Little Store, a charming voice rang out. A cute little loli was blinking her eyes as she stared at him. The little princess of the Ouyang family? Shusher raised his eyebrows slightly, feeling a little surprised. Although the intelligence provided by the spy had already mentioned Ouyang Xiaoyi's existence, it was still unbelievable to see it with his own eyes. The dignified little princess of the Ouyang family actually lowered herself to be a waitress in this store? Is he stupid? At the door, a slender young man slowly stood up. He was wearing a chef's robe, twisting his neck as he walked lazily towards the kitchen. He's the owner of this store? His cultivation was so weak. Why was he only a second-grade battle master? To be able to kill 4 Battle King assassins, the shop owner's strength should be at least at the level of a 6th-grade battle emperor. Shusher stroked his beautiful long beard as he stared at Bufang's back in disbelief. Hey, what do you want to eat? Ouyang Xiaoyi said with dissatisfaction. This uncle actually did not pay attention to a cute little lowly like her. He kept staring at the smelly boss. Could it be that the charm of a cute girl like her was not comparable to that smelly boss? Shusher returned to his senses and smiled awkwardly. He turned his head to look at the menu on the wall, and his eyes narrowed. The rumors are indeed true. The #1 unscrupulous restaurant in the Imperial City lives up to its name. Shusher gasped and couldn't help but murmur. Even though he was ordered by the Crown Prince to investigate this store, he was still a little confused when he saw the sky-high prices with his own eyes. Give me a serving of fish head tofu soup. Shusher was not short of money. He glanced at the menu and chose his favorite fish head tofu soup. Please wait a moment. The little lowly snorted as she turned around and walked toward the kitchen. She did not have a good impression of this uncle who was paying attention to the smelly boss instead of her. Shusher found a seat and sat down. The restaurant wasn't very big, and there were 4 tables in the middle of the restaurant. It was warm and compact, and the environment was quiet and clean. Overall, it gave people a good feeling. Da-da-da. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from outside the door. A few figures approached from afar and stepped into the store. Shusher? A faint voice rang out. Shusher was puzzled. He turned his head towards the door and happened to see a middle-aged man. Scholar Su, I didn't expect it to be you. Shusher stood up in surprise and cupped his hand slightly. The middle-aged man in front of him was actually a great scholar of the imperial court. Why did he personally come to this small restaurant? Even though the Light Wind Empire was ruled by military force, there were still civil officials. After all, a combination of civil and military was the way to rule a country. Su Yuanqing recognized the long-bearded Shusher in front of him. As a favorite of the crown prince, many people in the imperial court recognized him. Su Yuanqing and Shusher were not familiar with each other. After greeting each other, they sat down, and Su Yuanqing ordered a plate of egg fried rice. Bufang was already busy in the kitchen. There seemed to be quite a number of new customers today. What was going on? Did someone advertise the store in the Imperial City? Even though he was puzzled, Bufang's hands did not stop. He fished out the 3rd-grade Thunder Silver Carp from the fish tank. He first scraped off the scales, then cleaned its internal organs. After washing it with clean water, he chopped off the fish head. After keeping the fish head, the rest of the fish meat was thrown into Xiao Bai's tummy for recycling. Taking out the sparkling ice crystal jadeite tofu from the cupboard, Bufang began to cook the fish head tofu soup. While the fish head tofu soup was simmering, Bufang took out a white egg the size of fist from the cupboard. This was the first egg laid by a 5th-grade spirit beast, the deep-sea sparrowhawk, and it was filled with a rich amount of spirit energy. Bufang knocked the egg against a celadone bowl and exerted force with his hand muscles, knocking the egg into the bowl with one hand. While he was preparing the delicacies, Fang's little store was already overcrowded. Give me a serving of ordinary egg fried rice. Give me a serving of dry mixed noodles. Hurry up, a serving of Lee's fish. Looking at the crowd squeezing into the store, Ouyang Xiaoyi was dumbfounded. She thought, since when did our store become so popular? After counting, there were about a dozen customers. Oh my God, is this still the store that was deserted a few days ago? Everyone, don't be in such a hurry. There are too many people. Let's line up first. Ouyang Xiaoyi had no choice but to loudly tell the crowd to line up. It was really inconvenient for them to squeeze into the store like this. as the space was too small. Line up? Last, do you know who I am? I'm Lord Zhang's butler. How dare you make me line up? Hurry up and tell your boss to send the food over. A middle-aged man wearing a brocade robe was dissatisfied as he scolded Ouyang Xiaoi. Who cares about Lord Zhang's butler? Last, do you know who I am? I'm the butler of the Minister of Rights. So what if you're the butler of the Minister of Rights? I'm King Mu's personal bodyguard. Ouyang Xiaoi expressionlessly looked at the group of customers who were arguing endlessly. Every one of them had an expression that said, I'm number one in the world, make way for me. Even though the little lowly was surprised that the personal bodyguard, a high-ranking official, would appear in a small store in a small alleyway, she was very unhappy with their pretentious behavior. Shusher sat on his seat and shook his head with a faint smile as he listened to the endless argument behind him. He felt that it was rather laughable. He knew very well why this group of people came, because they all had the same goal. What was laughable was that this group of people actually did not recognize the little lass's identity and were flaunting their family background in order to cut the line. Among this group of people, the background of the waitress, the little lowly, was the most terrifying. However, he was too lazy to point it out. Within the kitchen, a rich aroma wafted out. The aroma was so rich that it felt like silk brushing against one's cheeks. Everyone in the store was slightly stunned as they subconsciously breathed in the aroma that was drifting over. Su Yuanqing and Shusher's eyes lit up. This aroma was so fragrant. The higher the price, the higher the price, the higher the price. Bufang carried the egg-fried rice out of the kitchen and was a little stunned when he saw the extremely crowded store. He could not accept the fact that the store had suddenly become so popular. However, he was very calm. The surprise only lasted for a moment before he recovered his expressionless face. Everyone, line up in order. Each person is only allowed to order each dish in this store once. Dishes are not allowed to be taken out, and cutting the line is not allowed. Those who violate the rules will be blacklisted and will no longer be served. Bufang lightly said. His voice was not loud, but it covered the voices of everyone else. Then, in just an instant, the entire store burst into an uproar. This group of people were all sent by their respective owners to investigate the situation of the store. They were used to acting like tyrants outside. How could they tolerate the bunch of rules of Bufang's lousy store? They immediately started to clamor. Bufang expressionlessly placed the egg-fried rice in front of Su Yuanqing. Here is your improved egg-fried rice. Please enjoy your meal, Bufang said. Su Yuanqing's gaze was already attracted by the egg-fried rice. He nodded his head and ignored Bufang. Quiet. Don't make a racket, Bufang frowned and coldly shouted. F***CK. You brat, don't be so shameless. This butler is already giving you face by eating your dishes. I am Lord Zhang's man. You can't afford to offend me. That butler was instantly enraged. He pointed at Bufang's face and shouted. The others also pointed at Bufang and shouted in dissatisfaction. The store, which had been quiet for a while, became noisy again. Ouyang Xiaoi rolled her eyes. She glanced at Bufang, whose face was as black as the bottom of a pot. She immediately observed a moment of silence for this group of people in her heart. Of all places to act cool, you just had to come to Bufang's store. A mechanical sound rang out. Xiaobai's huge figure appeared behind Bufang. Its mechanical eyes flickered. Yo, do you think that you are invincible just because you have an iron puppet? Is this the reason why you dare to offend this butler? When that butler saw Xiaobai, a sneer instantly flashed across his eyes. He had seen many puppets. They were just a bunch of scrap metal. Bufang narrowed his eyes. He raised his hand and pointed at Lord Zhang's butler. Very well, you have been blacklisted. Chapter 34. Blacklist? You a lowly dead chef? Lord Zhang's butler was slightly taken aback by Bufang's actions. Then, he threw his head back and laughed out loud. It seemed like tears were about to fall from his eyes. The surrounding people could not help but laugh as well. Their gazes of ridicule and disdain all landed on Bufang. Did this young chef have a brain cramp? Did he not know who he was talking to? That was Lord Zhang's butler. Lord Zhang had a noble status and was a famous dignitary in the imperial city. Naturally, his butler was also famous. A chef from a small restaurant in a corner of an alleyway actually had the audacity to say that he wanted to blacklist him. It was simply the biggest joke in the world. Do you know that if I wanted to tear down your restaurant, it would only take a few minutes? This butler is giving you face by coming here to eat. You should be serving food to this lord with a smile. Who gave you the courage to blindly act cool in front of this lord? The butler crossed his arms in front of his chest and snorted. He was incomparably arrogant. Bufang was expressionless. Looking at this, Butler was no different from looking an idiot. Butler? Is he that awesome? Even a prince was rejected by me. What does a butler like you count for? Bufang could not be bothered to speak anymore. He lightly patted Xiao Bai's wide belly. Ouyang Xiaoi, who was standing behind Bufang, was overjoyed. She could see Xiao Bai make a move again. Xiao Bai's mechanical eyes immediately lit up. A red glow flickered as he mechanically said, "Troublemaker, you will be stripped as an example to others." What? Strip what? Lord Zhang's butler was startled. He cupped his ears, stretched his neck, and sneered. Say that again, strip what? Xiao Bai's mechanical head slightly turned and locked onto the butler. Its mechanical arm instantly reached out and pulled toward the butler. Humph. Impudent. Lord Zhang's butler coldly snorted with a displeased expression. His cultivation level was at the level of a third-grade battle maniac. Why would he be afraid of a mechanical lump of iron without any spirit energy in a small restaurant? See if I don't smash you into scrap metal. Take this bone-shattering palm. The butler let out a long roar. True energy surged, and with an imposing manner, he slapped his palm toward the mechanical hand that Xiao Bai had extended. Bang! The ideal was plentiful, but the ending was very skinny. Lord Zhang's housekeeper aggressively slapped Xiao Bai's arm. Like a mayfly trying to shake a tree, Xiao Bai didn't move at all. F***ck me. The butler's body stiffened. He awkwardly raised his head and met Xiao Bai's mechanical eyes. Then, he was slapped to the ground by Xiao Bai, as if he was swatting a fly. The true energy in his body dissipated in an instant. Rip! With a crisp sound, the clothes on the housekeeper burst into pieces. His whole body was stripped by Xiao Bai, leaving only a pair of underwear, and then he was thrown out in a parabola. Everyone in the store was silent. Their gazes were fixed on the butler's body, and their bodies shivered. Just as Zhao Rouge arrived at the entrance of the store, he saw a figure flying out of the store and falling at his feet. Why did this scene seem so familiar? Every time he came to the store, there would always be someone flying out naked. I'll say it again. Line up in order and don't make any noise. Violators will be blacklisted. Bufang lightly said as he glanced at the group of people who were as silent as cicadas in winter. Then, he turned around and went back into the kitchen. Behind him, Ouyang Xiaoi clenched her fists. The smelly boss was so domineering. Zhao Rouge recalled his experience of running around naked, and his heart trembled. His original intention of cutting the queue disappeared, and he quietly stood at the back of the line. His father, the current minister of the left, Zhao Masheng, found out that the third prince had been attacked by an assassin in the store and actually sent him to investigate the situation. To be honest, he refused at first. However, when his father said that he would be rewarded with a 5th-grade energy-gathering pill after the mission was accomplished, he shamefully compromised. Shusher solemnly stared at Xiao Bai. As a battle king, he actually felt a trace of pressure. This puppet was not ordinary. Scholar Su Yuanqing also thoughtfully nodded his head. He guessed that the hidden expert in the store was probably this puppet. The two of them raised their heads and looked at each other. They smiled at each other and then continued to bury their heads in their food. This dish was really F***king delicious. With Xiao Bai as a deterrent, the subordinates of the nobles immediately became much more obedient. Lord Zhang's housekeeper was a 3rd-grade battle maniac, which was not considered weak among them. However, he was powerlessly stripped naked by Xiao Bai. Without a doubt, they would be stripped naked as well. In order to avoid being stripped naked, it was better for them to be more obedient. Ouyang Xiaoi arrogantly glanced at the group of people, noted down the names of their dishes, and reported them to Bufang. Xu and Scholar Su reluctantly finished their food. Their faces were filled with intoxication. There was indeed a reason why the dishes in the store were expensive. The taste was even better than that of the imperial kitchen. Furthermore, the two of them could feel the additional true energy within their bodies. It was obvious that the dish was extraordinary. They hurriedly left the store, and the people below came up to take their places. Bufang finished his food very quickly, so they did not have to wait for too long. However, without a doubt, everyone who had tasted Bufang's dishes were so shocked that they could not close their mouths. They were completely conquered by the delicacies. Zhao Rouge watched as the customers reluctantly walked out one by one. As he smelled the aroma wafting through the store, he could not help but feel his appetite being whetted. He had been to the store twice already, but he had not tasted any of the dishes. From the looks of it, the dishes seemed pretty good. It seemed like he would have to give them a good taste today. When the person in front of him left the store with a satisfied expression, Zhao Rouge's face immediately lit up. He elegantly stepped into the store and elegantly stood in front of Ouyang Xiaoi. "Oh, it's you, Sissy Zhao." Ouyang Xiaoi raised her eyelids and curled her lips. Of course, she knew Zhao Rouge. The little princess of the Ouyang family actually lowered herself to be a waitress. What a pity. TSK, TSK, TSK. Give me a serving of Lee's fish. Zhao Rouge glanced at the menu. If he was going to eat, he would eat the most expensive dish. None of your business. Ouyang Xiaoi slightly wrinkled her nose and snorted. She turned around and went to the entrance of the kitchen to report the dishes. However, before she could finish her sentence, Bufang expressionlessly walked out of the kitchen. "Today's opening hours are over. Those who have yet to taste your dishes, come back tomorrow," Bufang lightly said. Once these words were spoken, the 7 or 8 people in the queue immediately burst into an uproar. "What? We have already waited for almost 2 hours, and you're telling us that you are not open anymore? Honorbu, aren't you being too unscrupulous? It is still early. Continue to open for business. We want to taste your cooking." Facing the incessant questioning of the crowd, Bufang did not panic in the slightest. "I'll say it again. Today's opening hours are over. If you want to eat, come back earlier tomorrow. Also, please do not make a ruckus," Bufang expressionlessly said. Behind him, Xiao Bai's mechanical eyes glowed red and locked onto the people who were clamoring. Immediately, the group of people stared at each other as if their throats were being choked. With Xiao Bai around, they did not dare to say anything even if they were angry. The crowd could only leave in a resentful mood while thinking about how to report to their owner. Zhao Rouge felt as if countless invisible arrows had pierced into his heart. "Damn it, the opening hours are over again. Can you not be so punctual? Honorbu, 5 times the price. I want to order." Zhao Rouge unwillingly asked. "I refuse. You already tempted me last time," Bufang lightly said. "Rules are set by people. Honorbu, 10 times. How about 10 times the price? I must have a taste of Honorbu's cooking today," Zhao Rouge said with an ominous glint in his eyes as he gnashed his teeth. "No." Bufang's heart was bleeding as he resentfully rejected Zhao Rouge. "If you raise the price again, believe it or not, I will beat you up." Zhao Rouge was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. He coldly glanced at Bufang, angrily snorted, and left with a flick of his sleeves. Ouyang Xiaoi looked at Bufang with a face full of admiration. She had always thought that Bufang was a greedy person. She did not expect him to be so principled. "Smelly boss, you were super cool when you rejected Sissy Zhao." Ouyang Xiaoi gave him a thumbs up. Hee hee. Bufang expressionlessly smiled. For the next 2 days, Fang's little store was overcrowded. There were new customers arriving every day. Xu and Scholar Su came every day and were completely conquered by Bufang's delicacies. On the other hand, the Xiao siblings and the third prince, Ji Xingxue, did not appear for 2 days. Of course, Bufang was only slightly surprised, but he did not care. Just like that, the third day arrived. This day was also a very important day in the imperial city. The number one expert of the imperial city, General Xiao Meng, had triumphantly returned from an expedition against the sects beyond the walls and escorted the 6 hall masters of the Death Soul Palace back to the imperial city. Today, the imperial city was a gathering place and the city gates were wide open. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.